Chapter 351. Chen Ning was stunned. What past did she have with him? After transmigrating over, he was just a stranger to her. I'm very sorry, I don't remember. She gave a careless shrug. She was not willing to read about the past between him and the original owner. When the original owner was desperately in love with him and was suffering for him, he was affectionate with the original owner's little sister and even made Chun Bai-yun pregnant before marriage. This kind of trash, Chen Ning, did not care about it at all. When she had transmigrated over, she had sworn to take revenge for the original owner. But after interacting with him for a while, she found that Chu Xiaoyang was not as bad as she thought. He just did not love Chen Ning. He just loved Chun Bai-yun too much. In this world, there was no such thing as having to love someone just because they loved someone. Seeing that he had sacrificed himself to save her twice, she decided to give him back what he had always wanted. She would let herself go and give him his freedom. As for Chun Bai-yun, she had done many unjust things, so she would reap what she sowed. Her words were like a blow to Chu Xiaoyang's head. He could not suppress the flames of anger in his heart as his chest heaved up and down as he gasped for breath. Don't remember. She actually said that she didn't remember in such a casual manner. She didn't remember, but he did not forget. He remembered everything that happened between them. Chu Xiaoyang, if Chun Ning loved you in the past, that was a matter between you and her. It had nothing to do with me. What Chen Ning, want is a unique man in this world. In his heart, there will only be me, and he will never have multiple wives and concubines. It's a pity you are not. Chen Ning's voice was calm and indifferent, but it made the veins on his forehead pop out. How could she be so sure of denying him? How did she know that he was not this kind of man? He really wanted to grab her and loudly question her. Chen Ning did not give him a chance to speak as her words flowed out like water. Chu Xiaoyang, if you truly love a woman, you have to respect her and not shame her. Since you love Chun Bai-yun and she has your flesh and blood, what you should do is give her the title of legal wife and not keep bothering me. Although I loathe and hate her, I also pity her, because she loves a man who is not worthy of love and does not know how to love. That man is you, Chu Xiaoyang. She had kept these words in her heart for a long time, but she never had the chance to say them. But since he wanted to ask her tonight, she would clearly tell him. Her words were like a bucket of cold water, instantly extinguishing the flames in Chu Xiaoyang's heart. He tightly clenched his fists and gritted his teeth as he said, "This king will not forget. I will not forget a single word." Not only did he leave, he even agreed to divorce her. He of Ningi. This. She gritted her teeth and jumped off the bed to close the window, hatefully latching it. These men always came and went. They only liked to climb through the window, treating the door as a decoration. Chapter 352. There were no walls in this world that didn't have a crack. Very quickly, the news of King Ding Yuan and his Princess Ding Yuan's separation spread like it had wings, quickly spreading through the streets of the capital city. Almost every tea shop and wine shop's guests were talking about this matter. When they talked about it, they were all beaming with joy and spittle flew everywhere. This was a once-in-a-100-year event in the West Chu country. After Chu Xiaoyang learned of this news, his face turned livid and he almost crushed his teeth from gritting them. He didn't dare to go to court now, because once he did, those ministers who didn't get along with him would come over to chat with him with a fake smile on their faces. And all they talked about was this matter. Thinking about the prestigious King Ding Yuan, he was actually asked to separate by his princess. This kind of humiliation was no less than being divorced. Chen Ning, it's you, it must be you. Chu Xiaoyang didn't even need to think to know who had spread this news. Other than Chen Ning, there was no one else. Was she in such a hurry to leave him? Did she want to be certain that he would go back on his word? Chu Xiaoyang revealed an angry smile. His eyes fell onto the secret report in front of him, and his bottomless eyes flashed with an unfathomable glow. Very good. Since everyone was waiting to see him, Chu Xiaoyang, become a joke on the 10th of April, he would not disappoint them. Chu Xiaoyang's guess was not wrong. This matter was done by Chen Ning. Her goal was to borrow the mouths of the citizens to send this matter to the emperor's ears. Otherwise, if she suddenly proposed to separate on the day she entered the palace, and the emperor was not prepared at all, it would be strange if he agreed. Young miss, have you really made up your mind to separate from His Highness? After Xiaoru heard this news, she was not as happy as Ning thought. Rather, she was filled with worry. Of course it's true. Soon we will be able to leave this broken cage and breathe in the fresh air of the outside world. Birds can fly in the sky, and fish can jump in the sea. The world is so big, I want to see it. Ning stood in the yard and looked up as she took a deep breath. Her mood was becoming better and better. She turned around and looked at Xia He with a smile on her face. Has there been any news of Chun Baiyan recently? When she heard that I wanted to separate from Chu Xiaoyang, she must be so happy that she couldn't close her mouth, right? Xia He smiled as she shook her head and said, Princess, you don't know, but the concubine Chun is very worried right now. Every day, there are at least 8 doctors who come to see her. What happened? Did something happen to the child in her stomach? Ning asked in a curious voice. Chun Baiyun had only fallen into the lake to drink a few mouthfuls of water and had been stung by bees, so it shouldn't have affected her pregnancy. No, her child is fine. It is her face. Xia He giggled and said, I heard that concubine Shun's face was stung by a bee, but it has been a few days and it is getting worse. It is said that she is so ugly that she cannot be seen. All the imperial physicians in the palace have been invited to take a look at her. She has taken a lot of medicine, but there is no effect. Her wet nurse, Miss Chun, was so worried that her hair turned white. Every day, she would send people to invite the most famous doctor in the capital to take a look at Miss Chen's face. Chun's teeth. It hasn't been good for several days. Ning also felt it was strange. Then she thought about what kind of medicine Chun Baiyun had put in the wine that day that mixed with a honey fragrance, attracting a large swarm of bees. Perhaps it was the side effect of that medicine. If it wasn't for him seeing through her trick, the one disfigured right now would not be Chun Baiyun, but her. Chapter 353. It's too ugly. Nanny, when will my face get better? If this continues, His Highness will not want me, and he will fall in love with that cheap woman Ning. Whenever Chun Baiyun saw her face in the mirror, she wanted to smash all the mirrors in the world. She had smashed at least 80 mirrors in the past few days, but she still wanted to see them after smashing them. Miss Chen picked up the mirrors on the ground and said, Second miss, you don't need to worry. This old servant will ask the most famous doctor in the city to take a look at you. I won't. I've seen so many doctors, but none of them are useful. They will only laugh at me. I don't want to see anyone. Chun Baiyin screamed out. She covered her face and fell onto the bed, crying in despair. Second miss, His Highness still cares about you. Your face has become like this, but His Highness still comes to apply medicine for you every day, so you should be happy. This means that what His Highness likes is not your face, but rather you as a person. Miss Chen's words were really useful. When Chun Baiyun heard this, she immediately stopped crying and raised her teary eyes in surprise and joy. Really? Nanny, is what you're saying true? Does this mean that the person His Highness likes is me? Not that cheap woman? Of course it's true. This old servant has seen it clearly these past few days. His Highness really treats you well, being gentle and considerate. This old servant is really happy for the second miss. Miss Chen gave a heartfelt sigh. Although Chu Xiaoyang gave the order to spank her, but she did not hate Chu Xiaoyang at all. The second miss face had become so ugly that even a nanny like her couldn't bear to see it, but His Highness did not mind at all. He came to visit the second miss every day and even personally applied medicine for the second miss face. A good husband like this, there wouldn't be a second one in this world. Yeah, second miss, His Highness has come to see you again. This old servant will leave first. Miss Chen turned around and saw Chu Xiaoyang's tall figure standing in front of the door. She did not dare stay and disturb the two of them, so she quickly left. Yin, is your face better today? Chu Xiaoyang did not even look at Miss Chen. His eyes were filled with tenderness for Chun Baiyun. Chun Baiyun's heart beat faster, and she did not dare look at his eyes. Your Highness, Yin Er's face. is becoming uglier and uglier. She lowered her head. Chu Xiaoyang lifted her chin and carefully looked at her face with a focused gaze. This, Chen Baiyun's face was no longer just green and purple. Her face was filled with red. Bai Chen's face was also filled with purple. Chen Baiyun's face was no longer just swollen, red, and purple. Those red bumps had already turned into small blisters that were constantly leaking yellow liquid. This kind of face was so disgusting that even she couldn't bear to look at it. But Chu Xiaoyang's face did not have a single look of disgust. He carefully covered her face with the ointment before wiping his hands with a handkerchief in satisfaction. Placing the ointment back into his sleeves, he revealed a gentle smile to Chen Baiyun. Yin'er, your face will definitely become as beautiful as it was before. Even if your face never gets better, my feelings for you will always be the same. There will not be a single change. Bye. Chen Baiyun was so moved that she almost cried. She forcefully bit her lips. At this moment, even if Chu Xiaoyang wanted her to die for him, she would be willing. Chapter 354. Chen Baiyun was pleasantly surprised, almost not daring to believe her ears. She said in a trembling voice, "Your Highness, can Yin also come?" Yin'er is only a concubine, so it should be elder sister accompanying your Highness. Chu Xiaoyang looked at her and said, "Of course she will go, but this king hopes that the woman accompanying this king will be you." I. Chen Baiyun's heart was 120 willing, but when she thought of her face, she hesitated. "Your Highness, Yin'er's face has become like this. It really can't be seen. Yin'er is afraid that if others see it, they will laugh at your Highness. No matter what others say, this king doesn't care." Chu Xiaoyang said with a serious expression, "I believe you've heard that this king will be separating from that cheap woman tomorrow. After we separate, this king will ask the emperor to make you this king's legal princess. At that time, this king will personally place the crown of a princess on your head. Yin'er, are you willing?" "Of course I'm willing," Chen Baiyun blurted out. She was so excited that she almost fainted. She never thought that such a good thing would suddenly fall into her lap. "Very good. This king has already prepared a set of clothes and jewelry for you. You can wear this to the palace tomorrow." Chu Xiaoyang clapped his hands, and Xiao and Zi came in with a tray in his hands. There was a set of beautiful clothes on the tray that Chen Baiyun couldn't take her eyes off. "Your Highness, you're truly thoughtful for Yin'er." She lovingly stroked the embroidery on the clothes. "It's good that you like it. Have a good rest. This king will personally come pick you up tomorrow, and we'll go to the palace banquet together." Chu Xiaoyang revealed a smile and gently looked at her before leaving with Xiao and Zi. Asterisk on the 10th day of the 4th month. Chenning woke up early to bathe and dress up. Today was a big day, because this was her first time entering the legendary palace, and she was going to ask the emperor she had never met for a divorce, so she couldn't be careless. The three maids surrounded her, helping her dress up. As the Dingyuan princess, the dress she was wearing was custom-made. It was a large red embroidered robe, looking elegant and dignified. That bright red color made her skin look as white as snow. Although Xiao Ru was a straightforward person, she had a pair of clever hands. She helped her comb her hair into a bun, revealing her smooth forehead. In the middle of the dark cloud-like bun was a 5-phoenix pearl hairpin. Chunning slowly stood up, her jewelry jingling. She looked at the young girl in the mirror with her beautiful eyes and sweet smile, almost not recognizing herself. She had always been barefaced, but now that she had put on some makeup, she was so dazzling that no one dared to look at her directly. The three maids were all staring in a daze. "Young miss, if His Highness saw your current appearance, he would be filled with regret." Xiaoru tightly clenched her fists as her eyes filled with excitement. "Young miss, if you let His Highness see you like this, his intestines will turn green." "Really? Then after the divorce, I'll let him see this princess' true appearance. This princess also wants to see what kind of face he will have at that time." Chunning revealed a faint smile. Her eyes were filled with charm as she looked at Xiao Ru. "First bring out the veil, otherwise that bastard Highness will suddenly change his mind and regret it." Yes, young miss. Xiaoru obediently brought out the veil. Although she was not willing to let Chunning cover up her beautiful face, thinking that the young miss would soon be separated from his highness, that bastard highness would have a wonderful expression when he saw the young miss face. Princess, his highness has sent someone to say that the carriage has been prepared and is waiting at the palace gates. His highness and concubine, Chun, have both arrived. Chun Tao came in to report. Very good. You can wait here for my good news. Chapter 355. There were 2 carriages parked in front of the king's palace. Chen Baiyin entered one of the carriages, and the other one was prepared for Chunning. Chu Xiaoyang was riding on the jade flower horse with an impatient look on his face. His eyes were glued to the open door, waiting for the late Chunning. He was wearing a dark purple formal court robe with a white jade belt around his waist. It made him look even more handsome and elegant. His posture on the back of the horse was even more vigorous and tall. Chen Baiyin lifted the curtain and looked at him without blinking. Her eyes were filled with love. When she thought about how soon she would no longer be a concubine or a concubine, but rather she would be the King Ding Yuan's princess, her heart began to beat fast with excitement. Suddenly, the smile on her face froze on her lips. In the king's palace's open doors, there was a red-clothed figure walking over. Her large red dress fluttered in the wind like a dancing red butterfly, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Chen Baiyun's eyes filled with hatred as her fingernails dug deep into her palms. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes were glued to the red-clothed girl. Although she was wearing a veil, the way she walked over was like a fairy concubine. People couldn't help wondering what kind of beauty she would have if she took off her veil. Why are you so late? This king and Yin have been waiting for you for a long time. Quickly get on the carriage. The tone he used to speak to her was just as bad as before. Chen Ning was already used to his tone. If it was the same tone he used to tease her that night, she really wouldn't have been able to accept it. She was not angry. Her sparkling eyes looked over Chen Baiyun's carriage, and then she boarded it with a smile. Chen Baiyun let out a long sigh of relief. Although she did not understand why Chen Ning was always wearing a veil that covered her beautiful face, it was just what she wanted. She was most worried about Chu Xiaoyang seeing Chen Ning's face. But it was a good thing that after today, His Highness would never see that cheap woman again. From now on, she would be with His Highness and no one would disturb her. Asterisk because Chen Ning was a bit late when they arrived at the royal palace. All the invited ministers and nobles were already there. The carriage stopped outside the Long Peace Gate. Once they entered the Long Peace Gate, they would enter the royal palace. Horses and carriages were not allowed. Outside the Long Peace Gate, there was a long line of carriages and horses. It was clear that there were quite a few people here. Chu Xiaoyang dismounted and walked in front of Chen Baiyun's carriage. He considerately helped her get off the carriage, not even looking at Chen Ning from the corner of his eyes. It was a good that Chen Ning did not want him to help her up. She jumped off the carriage with the corner of her dress. Chen Baiyun's heart was filled with sweetness and pride. She deliberately said, "Your Highness, elder sister is the princess. You should walk with elder sister." Chu gave a cold snort, but he did not say anything. Chen Ning giggled as she waved her hand and said, "No need, no need. You two are a match made in heaven. Walking together is a perfect match. This idle person won't be an eyesore anymore." She was the first to enter Changning Gate. Inside the gate, there was a sedan chair specially prepared by the palace for the families of these ministers. She crawled into a warm sedan chair. For eunuchs lifted the sedan chair and moved it forward unsteadily. Chapter 356. Along the way, Chen Ning lifted the curtains on both sides and looked around the palace in a curious manner. She saw that there were many buildings, one layer after another. It looked magnificent and beautiful, but in her eyes, it was a very beautiful and complicated golden cage. She really didn't know what it felt like to live in this kind of cage. She suddenly felt a bit of sympathy for the emperor that she had never seen before. The sedan stopped in front of the arched door of the royal garden. Chen Ning came out of the sedan and saw a large garden in front of her. It was several acres in size, and she couldn't see the end of it. The garden was filled with strange flowers. With the spring breeze, the buds were blooming, the clothes were fragrant, and the flowers reflected off each other. It was very lively. What made Ning feel a bit strange was that most of the ministers that came to the banquet had brought their wives and daughters with them. She swept her eyes over them and saw several young girls. They were all slender and elegant, and each of them had been carefully dressed up. Their clothes were luxurious, but their expressions were filled with nervousness and nervousness. Yeah, there's a girl wearing red clothes over there. She's so beautiful. That's right, the hairpin on her head is so beautiful. Her dress is even more beautiful. I've never seen such a beautiful dress before. Who is she? The young girls that were scattered in the garden saw Ning at the entrance and instantly let out a burst of praise. The surrounding young masters also looked over at Ning with passionate gazes. Although Ning was wearing a veil and they couldn't see her face, the more she was half hidden, the more people would think about her. The young men's eyes lit up and their hearts began to stir. In the blink of an eye, Ning was surrounded by a group of bold young men. Miss, may I ask which family's young miss are you from? Please allow this young master to recommend himself. This young master is the young master of the Xia family. I'm 19 this year and I haven't taken a wife yet. Go, go, go. You haven't taken a wife, but you've taken 2 concubines. Miss, this one is the son of the Minister of Revenue, and I've fallen in love with you at first sight. The young men chattered. What kind of rhythm was this? Was this a blind date? Ning's eyes opened wide. Looking at the young and passionate faces, she was speechless for a while. You bastards, daring to take liberties with this king's princess. All of you scram for this king. The dark purple-robed Chu Xiaoyang separated the crowd and forcefully grabbed Ning's wrist. His eyes were like flames as he angrily glared at the young man. His face was as cold as ice, enough to freeze a person into ice. The youths all gave a cold shiver. Looking at Chu Xiaoyang, who seemed like he wanted to kill someone, they all scattered in embarrassment. Ning, stay with this king. He's not allowed. Chu Xiaoyang's voice was filled with anger. Ning struggled a bit, but he tightened his grip. Your Highness, you're pulling me in front of her. Aren't you afraid of hurting your woman's heart? Ning slightly knit her brows, revealing an unhappy expression. Chen's anger. Ning's words, she said. Ning. King. Ning's chins of the others the other day. King angry Wong like person's love like Ning's like buys not Chenes come a people. Ning's right at Chen's heart. Of the other hand, he to the Chu to him, to Ning of Chun of. Ning saw that he couldn't be reasoned with, so she just let him pull her forward. After all, it wouldn't be long before he wouldn't have the qualifications to control her anymore. Chapter 357. There was a cool palace in the center of the imperial garden. There were no doors or windows, and it was completely open, allowing one to enjoy the beautiful scenery of the garden. The palace banquet was arranged in this cool palace, and there were already tables and chairs set up. There were eunuchs leading the ministers to their seats according to their rank. There was an imperial chair in the north-facing south with a golden embroidered blanket on it. It could be seen with a single glance that it was the emperor's dragon chair, but there was no one on it. The emperor had not arrived yet. Chu Xiaoyang was King Ding Yuan, so his seat was next to eldest princess and Li's table. Before they even sat down, Ning saw eldest princess and Lu holding Yi Tingxian's hand as they walked into the main hall. The 2 of them were wearing bright clothes, just like a pair of immortals. They immediately became the focus of everyone's attention. Many officials surrounded them, greeting them and flattering them. The eldest princess did not care about a single one of them. Her eyes swept across the main hall like she was looking for someone. Ning revealed a faint smile, knowing that she was looking for her. She wanted to let go of Chu Kaiyang's hand and go forward, but he held onto her tightly. Chu Xiaoyang, let go of me. The eldest princess is looking for me. What? Are you so impatient to separate from this prince? Do you think that the eldest princess will help you pave the road and the emperor will agree? Chu Xiaoyang gave a cold laugh. Although he clearly knew that she was here to divorce, but seeing her excited look, it still made his heart feel suffocated. Chu Xiaoyang, things have come to this point. Are you going back on your word? Chen Ning looked back. What if this king says yes? Chu Xiaoyang said without changing his expression. Chen Ning couldn't help being stunned. She suspiciously looked at Chu Xiaoyang, wanting to see if his words were true or false. Chu Xiaoyang's expression did not change. His eyes were like a bottomless lake as he stared right at her. Behind him, Chun Baiyun's face turned pale, but her face was also covered by a veil like Chen Ning, so it could not be seen. Not to mention that Chu Xiaoyang's eyes did not look at her at all. Your Highness joke, it's not funny at all. Chen Ning changed the topic and turned her head, avoiding his aggressive gaze. The gaze looked like it wanted to eat a person. Ninger, the eldest princess, finally noticed Chen Ning and waved at her from afar. Chen Ning took this chance to escape. She let go of Chu Xiaoyang's hand and smiled as she walked over to the eldest princess, bowing down. There's no need to be so polite with this princess. Quickly stand up. The eldest princess grabbed Chen Ning's hand. That intimacy made everyone's jaws drop. She pulled Chen Ning 2 steps away and looked over her. Her eyes were filled with shock, but when she saw the veil on her face, she asked in a puzzled voice, "Why are you wearing this thing on your face?" Chen Ning revealed a faint smile. Instead of answering, she asked, "Eldest princess, when can Ning see the emperor?" This princess is indeed bringing you to see the emperor. However, Ninger, this princess will ask you one more time. Have you really thought this through? Ning's heart. The eldest princess looked over at Chu Xiaoyang and wanted to say a few good words for him, but she saw Chun Baiyun standing beside Chu Xiaoyang. Her face sunk, and she angrily said, "That brat even brought a concubine into the palace. He really isn't a good thing. Come, this princess will take you to see the ruler." She did not hesitate and held Chen Ning's hand. They left the cool palace and headed south. Chapter 358. King Ding Yuan, after last time's hunt, have your injuries healed? Chu Xiaoyang's face turned livid as he stopped walking. He angrily stared at Yi Ting Xian. "Husband Yi, has this king offended you? Why do you and royal aunt keep going against this king?" Yi Ting Xian said with a smile. "King Ding Yuan, the eldest princess has something to say to your princess. It's best if us men don't go. How about we drink a few cups together?" He pulled Chu Xiaoyang's hand and did not even look at Chun Baiyun beside him as he walked towards the banquet. Chu Xiaoyang gave a snort and looked in the direction Chen Ning left in. Finally, he looked away and sat down to drink with Yi Ting Xian. Of course, he knew what she was doing, seeing the emperor and wanting to separate. But no matter what she wanted to do, the one who would win in the end would be him. Chun Baiyun stood alone in the main hall, with no one coming forward to greet her. When the wives of the officials saw her, if they didn't point at her, they would ridicule her. They all knew her identity. She was a concubine in name, but she was actually a concubine. The ones these main wives looked down on the most were concubines. Chen Baiyun's face turned green and red. Hearing everyone's criticism of her, she was filled with shame, wishing she could find a hole to hide in. Her intestines turned green with regret. She really shouldn't have come to this kind of place. It was truly shameful. But thinking about it, before long, she would go from being a concubine that everyone looked down on to becoming the Ding Yuan princess that everyone envied. She suddenly looked up and gave a cold snort to the crowd. "Very soon, you will all be trying to please this princess in front of me. Chun Baiyun, Ninger. In front of us is the royal study. My royal brother is inside. You can go in alone." The eldest princess held Chun Ning's hand as they passed through the layers of palaces. They walked her all the way to the door of the royal study before stopping. Chen Ning bit her lips. She was normally calm, but thinking about how she was about to face an emperor that she had never met and had the power to decide her life and death, her heart was a bit uneasy. It was said that being with a ruler was like being with a tiger. What if... "You don't need to worry, my royal brother is wise and decisive. As long as you have a reason, my royal brother will not refuse your request." The eldest princess smiled as she patted the back of her hand. I'll be going back first. I hope I can hear good news from you in a bit. Many thanks for the eldest princess care for Ning-er. Chen Ning was filled with gratitude towards the eldest princess. You sigh. The eldest princess once again revealed a look of pity. She shook her head and turned to leave. The corridors on both sides of the imperial study were filled with guards armed with swords. Layers upon layers of security. The emperor's might was solemn. Chun Ning slowly walked in front of the royal study and said in a clear voice, "Ding Yuan, Princess, Chen requests an audience with the emperor. Come in." A clear and melodious voice came from the room. This voice seemed very familiar. Chen Ning did not have time to think about it. She pushed open the door to the royal study and slowly walked in. As soon as she entered the room, the two doors closed behind her, causing her to be slightly taken aback. Right now, she was like an arrow on a bowstring. She had no choice but to release it. She lowered her head and swept her gaze around. She had already seen a pair of bright yellow court boots embroidered with a five-clawed golden dragon. There was no need to ask. This person was without a doubt the emperor. Ding Yuan's princess, Chun greets the emperor. Chen Ning knelt down, according to the customs of this era, while complaining in her heart. The emperor did not say a word. He did not even give an unsound and did not tell her to rise. She knelt on the ground for a while, and her knees were aching, but she still did not hear the emperor's voice. What was this? Chapter 359. Ding Yuan Princess, Chun greets the emperor. Chen Ning said in a deep voice. She slowly said it again. Her words were clear and powerful. She did not believe that the emperor would continue to pretend to be deaf and mute. I said that we would meet again very soon. Isn't it true that we do? Suddenly, a playful voice came from above her head. That familiar voice and tone made her body tremble. Xiaohei, why is it you? She suddenly looked up and found a very familiar face in front of her. That elegant face that was like the distant mountains and the deep black eyes. If it wasn't Mo Chuan, who else could it be? In an instant, her eyes opened wide in shock and her face was filled with amazement. He always liked to wear black clothes, but now he was wearing a bright yellow dragon robe. It made her eyes light up, but at the same time, she felt confused and unfamiliar. The emperor in front of her, was he really Mo Chuan? That cold and arrogant black-clothed assassin had suddenly transformed into the supreme ruler of the 9-5 realms. Just by changing his clothes, he had turned from a cold and arrogant person to a noble and dignified person, as if the might of the heavens could not be offended. You? What are you doing? Chen Ning still could not determine if the young emperor in front of her was Mo Chuan or not. The emperor suddenly reached out and picked her up while she was still kneeling on the ground in a daze. Then he walked over to the couch on the side. Her heart suddenly began to beat faster and faster. He was Mo Chuan. He still had that familiar clear aura on him. That's right, he was Mo Chuan. Chen Ning's nervousness and unease all disappeared and was replaced with a wave of anger. He was the high and mighty emperor with an unattainable status, but he had lied to her that he was an assassin that roamed the world. He didn't even look at her when he lied. Lying to her for this long, she actually believed his words and foolishly allowed him to keep her in the dark. He must be secretly laughing at her for being a fool, right? This really was ironic. She had always thought that she could read minds, but she had been tricked by him like a fool. Does your knees hurt from kneeling? I just wanted to tease you. You won't be angry with me, right? Mo Chuan gently placed her on the couch and sat beside her, looking at her with a pair of deep eyes. There were no outsiders in the room, and his voice was the same as before. Other than that dragon robe, Chen Ning suddenly felt that the bright yellow was very dazzling. You will beg to see me. Mo Chuan clearly did not say anything, but the last words he said before he left suddenly rang in her ears. That's right. He had already predicted that she would beg him. That was why he left without any fear and even left behind such a sentence with such certainty. Now, wasn't he like a beggar, kneeling in front of him and begging? The anger in her heart surged up wave after wave, and her chest was about to melt. She couldn't help but close her eyes. When she opened them again, Her eyes had become calm, and without the shock and excitement she had when they first met were no longer there. Emperor, this is your dragon bed. This minister's concubine is lying here. I'm afraid it's inappropriate, she said in a strange and indifferent voice. She wanted to sit up, but he pressed down on her shoulder. Mo Chuan stared right into her eyes, like he wanted to see in her heart. She lowered her eyes, refusing to meet his gaze. If he didn't let her move, then she wouldn't move. Chapter 360. Do you really have to use this kind of tone to talk to me? Mo Chuan looked at her cold expression of rejection, and his heart filled with pain. Only the heavens knew how he had spent the past few days. Almost all the time, he was thinking about the scene of him reuniting with her today. He had thought of many possibilities. He thought that she would be pleasantly surprised and happy, but he never thought that she would be this cold that rejected him. Does the emperor feel that this minister's concubine's tone is not respectful enough? I'm very sorry. This minister's concubine's words have always been like this. If you don't like it, then send someone to cut off this minister's concubine's head. Chen Ning curled her lips in a mocking manner, but she still did not look at him. That's right. The emperor does not need to send this minister's concubine to cut off my head. With the emperor's good martial arts, you can take whoever's head you want. Mo Chuan fiercely gritted his teeth. His passion had been frozen into ice by her cold attitude. This girl, she kept calling him this minister's concubine. Was she preparing to anger him to death? In front of me, you don't need to use the words minister's concubine. He found it jarring. Those two words were constantly reminding him of her identity. She was the Dingyuan princess and also his royal nephew's woman. She was a taboo that he could not touch or touch. Then what does the emperor want to hear me call myself? Chen Ning curled her lips and finally looked up to look at him. Her eyes were sparkling and watery, causing the frozen lake in his heart to turn into a pool of spring water that rippled. He knew that as long as he saw her eyes, he could only throw away his armor. He would never be able to be angry with her. No matter who I am or what my identity is, the words I say will always count. He suddenly had an impulse and opened his arms to hug her. He was tightly hugging her, so tightly that she could not break free at all. His smooth chin rubbed against her ear. His voice was low and deep, but each word was clear and powerful, coming from the bottom of his heart. Fuck the rules. Fuck the taboo. He just wanted to hug her. Chen Ning closed her eyes. This was a familiar embrace. When he was still an assassin, he had also forcefully hugged her. At that time, he had given her a kind of sweet expectation. But now, she felt that it was really laughable. 24 years old, not married, not engaged. His words once again echoed in her ears. He even shamelessly asked her to be his matchmaker. What was his identity? The unreachable emperor above tens of thousands of people. He was the ruler of the 9-5. He had countless women in the palace. Just how bored was he to pretend to be an assassin and follow her around, teasing her, watching her fall in love with him bit by bit? Was this how he picked up girls as an emperor? Each one of his tricks. She, Chen Ning, had actually been tricked by him. Your Majesty, you're hugging me so tightly that I can't breathe. Can you let go of me first and let me catch my breath before hugging me again, all right? She suddenly opened her eyes, and her voice carried the coquettishness and gentleness of a young girl. Her eyes to Chun to of her to of her of to him. This girl, she was to say this. Hearing her soft tone, how could he bear to let go of her? Okay, no matter how reluctant he was, he couldn't refuse her soft request. He slowly loosened his arms, but he still couldn't bear to look away from her face. Chapter 361. Mo Chuan's breathing stopped. What appeared in front of him was the face of a charming and peerless young girl. For a moment, he almost didn't recognize her, but he quickly calmed down. No matter if she was beautiful or ugly, in his eyes, she was all the same. Emperor, do I look good today? Good. He told the truth. He had never seen her this beautiful before. Then, do you like me? She brushed a strand of hair across his cheek as she spoke in a soft voice. It was as if a small hand was gently tickling his heart. His heart beat faster and faster with each passing moment. The her in front of him was no longer the clever her from before. Every frown and smile of hers was enough to captivate his soul, filled with charm and allure. It melted the ice mountain in his heart. Of course I like her. But he tightly pursed his thin lips and only stared at her with those deep and dark eyes. His passionate gaze was enough to tell her everything. Emperor, didn't you say you would take responsibility for me? Seeing that he didn't answer, she revealed a smile and suddenly made a bold move. She wrapped her arms around his neck and her wide sleeves slid down, revealing 2 white jade-like arms. Her nose gently touched his nose and her breath smelled like orchids. His heart was so nervous that it almost jumped out of his chest. His usually calm eyes were no longer calm and became turbulent. But he was the emperor after all, so he was used to not showing his emotions. Although his heart could not stop beating, his face was still calm without any fluctuations. He replied with a nasal voice. Because he did not dare speak at all. Her red lips were so close, as long as he slightly lowered his head, he could. Then, your meaning is that you want me to enter the palace to be your woman? Her eyes turned and sparkled with a watery glow. Her white teeth bit her lower lip as she revealed a faint smile. What kind of taste will you give me? A talented person? A concubine? A concubine? Or the main concubine? He was currently in a daze, intoxicated by her sweet breath and soft whispers. Hearing this, it was like a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head. His heart, filled with passion, once again turned to ice. He wasn't an idiot. How could he not hear the contempt and mockery in her voice? Chen Ning. He finally couldn't help saying this. He pulled down the hand that was wrapped around his neck and tightly gripped it. His dark eyes were filled with emotions that she could not understand. What? The emperor is reluctant. She charmingly pouted. Then this minister's concubine should just obediently be my Ding Yuan princess. She can be the main concubine. No need to be someone else's concubine. In that moment, Mo Chuan really wanted to strangle her to death. He just couldn't understand how the words that came out of her charming red mouth could be more painful than the sharpest knife cutting a person. Every word was stabbing at his most painful spot. Shut your mouth for me. When Chen Ning was prepared to speak again, his movements were even faster than her lips. He covered her mouth and angrily glared at her. If he allowed her to continue talking, even someone as composed as him couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't do something crazy. Chen Ning's mouth. Chen Ning. Seeing Mo Chuan with blue veins popping out on his forehead, she felt very satisfied and her heart felt a bit better. It was clearly him who had treated her like a fool and lied to her for so many days. But when he saw her, he still pretended to be calm and composed, which made her furious. Now, she had finally pissed him off. Chapter 362. Mo Chuan used one hand to cover her lips and the other to support her face. He used an expert's posture to imprison her between his chest and the couch. He was above and she was below. His eyes glowed with a faint glow, giving off the might of a king. But Chen Ning was not afraid at all. Instead, she relaxed her body, lazily and charmingly leaned against the couch, provocatively raising her eyebrows at him. She did not speak, and he did not speak. The two of them were like two fighting bulls, neither willing to admit defeat to the other. Suddenly, a respectful and sharp voice came from outside the door. Reporting to the emperor, the civil and military officials and their families have all arrived. I asked the emperor to head to the refreshing palace. These words woke up the two of them who were staring at each other. Mo Chuan quickly let go of her and took 3 steps back, maintaining the distance between the emperor and his subjects. He gave a soft cough and the door was pushed open. A blue-clothed eunuch came out and kowtowed to him. Emperor, the eldest princess has sent this servant to ask, when can the emperor... The little eunuch looked up and saw Chen Ning sitting on the couch. His jaw dropped, and his face was filled with a look of shock. She. Who is she? The little eunuch blurted out. Mo Chuan's face sunk, and he shouted, "How dare you?" Chen Ning heard that the little eunuch's voice was very familiar. Looking up, she gave an ah sound and softly called out, "Xiao Si." That little eunuch was the blue-clothed servant beside Mo Chuan, Xiao Si. The shock on her face was no less than Xiao Si's. Although she knew that Mo Chuan was the emperor and Xiao Si's identity was obvious, she didn't have the mind to think about this right now. So seeing Xiao Si dressed as a little eunuch, she was shocked. You know me?" Xiao Si's face was filled with confusion. He had seen Chen Ning's appearance after changing her appearance. Her face was waxy yellow, looking very normal, but the red-clothed girl on the couch was as beautiful as a fairy. How could he think of the two of them together? "I don't know you." Thinking that this fox Xiao Si was the same as his master, jackals of the same tribe, Chen Ning curled her lips and turned her head, not looking at him anymore. Her heart felt strange as she suddenly thought of Xiao Ru. She didn't know what that stupid girl would do if she found out that the fox Xiao Si was actually a eunuch. "Xiao Si, scram," Mo Chuan suddenly angrily said. He saw Xiao Si's eyes staring right at her, not even blinking. His heart filled with anger. Even if he was a eunuch, it was not okay. Even if he was a eunuch, it was not okay. His heart was filled with waves. He stared at Chen Ning, and his mind was thinking, "This girl is really beautiful. Who is she?" The emperor had never been close to women, so how could there suddenly be a beautiful girl in the imperial study? Oh, His Majesty's expression doesn't look right, as if he's angry from embarrassment. Is he blaming me for disturbing his good time? Also, this young lady has a beautiful blush on her face, and her new bright red robe is actually full of wrinkles. She is also sitting on His Majesty's dragon couch. TSK, TSK, TSK. Between these two people, they are really too patient. Scram! Mo Chuan had an expressionless face as he kicked Xiao Si's, but interrupting his wild thoughts. Yes, this servant will immediately scram. Xiao Si finally realized that he had angered the dragon. He hugged his head and rolled out the door. Chapter 363. Xiao Si immediately hugged his head and rolled back. With familiar movements, he kneeled down at Mo Chuan's feet and respectfully said, "What other orders does the emperor have?" "Bring her a new set of clothes," Mo Chuan coldly ordered. He had clearly noticed that Chen Ning's clothes were disheveled. That high-quality palace robe was soft and smooth, but it was wrinkled with a single touch. He had forcefully hugged her and pressed her down, leaving evidence of his crimes on her clothes. If she went out like this, she would become the focus of everyone's criticism. Chen Ning did not care at all as she pulled at her wrinkled clothes. She stood up and walked out. "No need. I'm a straightforward person. I'm a bright and open person. There's nothing to hide." Mo Chuan grabbed her arm and kicked the door shut at the same time. "Ning stop messing around." The ears of Little Four, who hadn't gone far, twitched, and he too heard these 4 words. He was greatly shocked in his heart. He had followed the emperor for many years, but this was the first time he had heard the emperor speak in this kind of pampering tone. Ning, could that be the name of the girl that looked like a fairy? The corners of his mouth suddenly curled up in a wide smile, and his eyes darted back and forth. He remembered what kind of special day today was and instantly revealed an understanding expression. Today was not just a flower viewing banquet. It was also an auspicious day for the emperor to choose a concubine. The Empress Dowager had already sent down a decree allowing the ministers to bring their daughters to the banquet. They wanted to choose a suitable girl for the emperor to serve in the palace. Of course, the more girls the emperor liked, the better, but they were afraid the emperor wouldn't like them. Speaking of which, the emperor was not young anymore. Even his nephew King Ding Yuan had a wife and a concubine, but his harem was filled with maids and maids. He didn't even have a concubine with good taste. Every time the Empress Dowager urged him, the emperor would use the excuse of focusing on the country. So when Xiao Si saw that there was a beautiful girl in the emperor's study and that there was an ambiguous relationship between the two of them, he was overjoyed. Good news. This was truly great news. He had to report this good news to the Empress Dowager. Perhaps the Empress Dowager would be filled with joy after hearing this, and her illness would be cured. Xiaoxi happily sped up his steps and headed straight for the Empress Dowager's palace. In the royal study, Chen Ning took 2 steps back and curled her lips into a smile as she said, "Ninger, doesn't the emperor think this title is a bit inappropriate? You should call this concubine the Dingyuan Princess." "All right, Dingyuan Princess." And Mo Chuan's expression turned serious, and he returned to his calm face. He had his hands behind his back, and his figure, which was wearing a dragon robe, exuded the majesty of an emperor. No one dared to offend him or look at him directly. That pair of bottomless black eyes also restrained all the emotions. When he looked at her again, it was as if he was looking at a stranger, completely unmoved. "The eldest princess said that you want to see this one. For what matter?" His voice was as low as ever, but there wasn't a single trace of emotion in it. Chen Ning looked down and no longer looked at him. That's right, this was right. This was the right way for her to interact with him. "The Dingyuan Princess, Chan wants the emperor to give me a decree, allowing me to separate from King Ding Yuan Chu Xiaoyang." Her voice was gentle, but it was filled with determination. "All right, this one approves." Chen Ning was not surprised by his answer at all. When she saw that he was the emperor, she knew that whatever she asked of him, he would agree to it. Chapter 364. She gently moved her long eyelashes and still asked, "Why didn't the emperor ask for the reason and just agreed like this?" "This one doesn't need to ask. As long as you have a request, this one will agree." And Mo Chuan deeply looked at her. "This one will go to the banquet first and come after you change your clothes. Before the banquet begins, this one will personally give the order for you to separate from King Ding Yuan." He opened the door and walked out with large steps. When Chen Ning looked up, the corner of his bright yellow robe had just disappeared behind a lush tree. She bit her lips, unable to describe the feeling in her heart. The freedom she wanted, he would soon give it to her, as the emperor, but why couldn't she feel any excitement or happiness? Was the separation for her, or was it for himself? Did he think that, after her separation, she would be able to enter the palace to accompany him? He was dreaming. Chen Ning suddenly stomped her foot. She would never step into this golden cage-like palace in her life. She would never become the emperor's woman. Asterisk. The emperor has arrived. Accompanied by the eunuch's clear voice, the entire hall of coolness instantly became silent. The ministers and womenfolk who were chatting and flattering each other all stood up solemnly and bowed to the bright yellow figure who had just entered the hall. Greetings to the emperor. The respectful voices of the courtiers were mingled with the delicate, guttural voices of the young girls. Mo Chuan had a jade crown on his head and a bright dragon robe on his head, but it could not take away his peerless charm. Just looking at him from afar was enough to intoxicate the hearts of young girls. He walked into the hall like he was taking a stroll. His eyes were handsome, looking noble and proud, making it hard for people to look at him. Only when he sat down in front of the dragon throne did he slowly raise his hand. "Rise." His voice was clear, but it was filled with majesty. All the officials knew that although the emperor was young, he was decisive in his actions, firm and unyielding. No one had ever dared to underestimate the emperor in the slightest. Everyone took their seats. Many of the ministers began to fawn over the emperor and fawn on him, praying and congratulating him. Those young girls all had faces filled with shyness as their hearts beat faster, looking at the emperor with affection. They all knew the reason they came to the palace today. If they were lucky enough to enter the emperor's eyes, not only would they soar into the sky, with this kind of handsome face, who wouldn't love him? But the emperor seemed a bit absent-minded. There was no expression on his proud face, only his bottomless black eyes looked out of the hall. He completely ignored the flattery of the ministers. Chu Xiaoyang was also absent-minded like the emperor. He tightly gripped the wine cup, but he did not bring it to his lips. He did not even see the loquat that Shun Bai Yun had peeled for him. Why isn't she not back yet? Didn't she go to the emperor to ask for a divorce? Where is she? Why is it that his majesty is here, but she is not here? The questions in his mind came one after another. His butt felt like it was on fire, and he could no longer sit still. Bang! He slammed the wine glass on the table, and the wine splashed everywhere, scaring the people around him. The loquat in Chun by Yun's hand fell to the ground and rolled a few times. She looked at him with wide eyes. Chu Xiaoyang suddenly stood up. With a wave of his robe, he walked out of the hall. No matter where that woman went, he had to find her and bring her back. "Your Highness, where are you going?" Chen Baiyin called out from behind him, but he acted like he didn't hear her as he walked like he was flying. Chapter 365. A blue-clothed little eunuch was currently leading a young girl dressed in a palace dress, walking through the flowers. She was wearing a large red begonia flower brocade dress. Her skirt fluttered in the wind, and with every step she took, it was a beautiful sight. She was slim and graceful with her hair like mist. The faint sunlight shined on her hair, eyebrows, and shoulders, making her look like a person from painting. When this girl appeared at the entrance of the main hall, she was like a beautiful pearl that attracted everyone's gaze. Then there was the sound of a cold breath being sucked in. Her appearance was very beautiful, and even the large hall seemed to become a bit brighter because of her appearance. Who is this beautiful girl? No one knew who she was, and everyone was silently asking this question in their hearts. As for those noble young ladies who were coquettishly flirting with the emperor, when they saw this young girl's elegant and refined appearance, they couldn't help but feel ashamed of their inferiority. They lowered their faces, and then their hearts were filled with hate and jealousy. No matter who this girl was, with her beauty, the emperor would definitely choose her. "Miss, this way, please." Xiao Si had an attentive look on his face as he prepared to bring Chun Ning to the emperor's throne. He did not know Chun Ning's identity, but since she was the girl chosen by the emperor, of course she would be placed by the emperor's side. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes had been glued to the girl's face ever since she appeared, not even blinking once. His body trembled slightly. Even he himself did not realize that his right hand had tightened its grip on the jade belt around his waist. His grip became tighter and tighter. Suddenly, with a bang, the belt that was made of gold and silver threads was forcibly torn into two by the strength of his fingers. The flawless jade embedded in the belt fell to the ground one by one. Each piece was priceless, but he did not even look at it from the corner of his eyes. Chen Ning's eyes were calm as she looked at Chu Xiaoyang with an expressionless face. With the emperor's promise, she did not need to hide in front of him anymore. She might as well let him see her true appearance. From his shocked expression, she knew that he must have recognized her as the culprit who threw the two thunderbolt eggs at him. But other than shock and amazement, there was something else in his eyes that she could not understand at all. There was pain, affection, and even a kind of love that was carved into his bones. Chun Ning gave a cold shiver. Damn, how could he love her so much? In front of the emperor and the ministers, Chun Ning believed that even if he recognized her, he would not dare do anything to her. She casually walked forward as if she did not know him at all. She casually walked forward as if she did not know him at all. When she passed by him, Chu Xiaoyang suddenly reached out and tightly grabbed her wrist. He squeezed out a single word from between his teeth. He used a lot of strength. Chun Ning took in a cold breath of air from the pain and knit her brows. Before she could even open her mouth, Xiao Si's sharp voice had already begun scolding her. "King Ding Yuan, you, King. This was the girl that the emperor fancied. How could he allow other men to touch her? He angrily waved his whisk, wanting to pull Chun Ning out of Chu Xiaoyang's hands. King, king horse, comma, king, comma, king. She is this king's princess. This king can do whatever he wants. How can a servant like you say anything? If you dare say anything else, this king will not be this polite to you." Chu Xiaoyang held Chun Ning's wrist with an arrogant expression, as if he was making an announcement. His eyes coldly swept over the crowd before finally falling onto Xiao Si's face. Hua. Chapter 366. What? This beautiful girl is the Dingyuan princess? Impossible. The Dingyuan princess is clearly an ugly monster. Then who is this girl? It can't be that King Dingyuan saw her beauty and wanted to marry her as his princess, right? The ministers began to discuss among themselves, and the young misses all let out a sigh of relief. The hostility in their eyes towards Chun Ning had mostly disappeared. So was the Dingyuan princess. Then she wouldn't be his love rival today. The emperor's eyes sunk and fell onto Chu Xiaoyang's hand that was holding Chun Ning. His thin lips tightly pursed. For the first time in his life, he tasted jealousy. What did you say? She is the Dingyuan princess? Xiaoxi stuttered and almost bit his tongue off. His chin almost fell off, and he felt like his brain had stopped working. How could she be the Dingyuan princess? She was clearly the girl that the emperor liked. Not long ago, the emperor had been in the royal study with this girl. No, impossible. Chu Xiaoyang did not look at him anymore. He gave a cold snort and grabbed Chen Ning's wrist. Looking down at her beautiful face without her veil, his heart was shocked once again. The face that he had seen countless times in his dreams had now clearly appeared in front of him, just like that. This was not a dream or a fantasy. She was real. He forcefully gritted his teeth, and his fingers that were holding her wrist turned white from the force he used. He saw her slightly knit her brows. What? Did she also feel pain? But she knew how much pain she made his heart feel. It was 1,000 times, 10,000 times more painful than what she felt. Chen Ning, it's you. It's really you. Each word was spat out in a very slow voice. Each word was filled with unforgettable pain. Chu Xiaoyang, you're hurting me. She knit her brows. She wanted to break free from his grasp, but he tightened his grip. Seeing her face, did he have to be this shocked? She did not look like a ferocious beast. I only gave you 2 thunderbolt eggs. If you want to take revenge, then you can take your revenge later. Can you go back to your seat first and not stand in front of the main hall to be laughed at? Of course, if you don't care, then I don't care. She absent-mindedly turned her eyes away, not looking at his gaze that was about to swallow her whole. Thunderbolt eggs? What thunderbolt eggs? Chu Xiaoyang was stunned before he realized what thunderbolt eggs she was talking about. Did she think he was here for this? It was not important at all. To him, it was not important at all. The important thing was that she was herself. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes looked around and saw that he and her had become the focus of everyone's eyes. His eyes suddenly condensed, and he looked into the young emperor's deep and serene eyes. Although the emperor had no expression on his face, Chu Xiaoyang's heart turned cold. There was something that he could not understand in his eyes. He was not in the mood to guess what the emperor was thinking. His mind was completely focused on Chun Ning. Xiao! He pulled her back to her seat. The hall was silent for a while. Soon, everyone turned their gazes away from them, as if the scene just now had never happened. That's right, in everyone's eyes, it was just a family matter of King Dingyuan's family. Their eyes would occasionally drift over to Chu Xiaoyang's table, waiting to see the good show that was about to happen. Chapter 367. When Chun Baiyun saw Chun Ning's face, her face turned pale without a trace of blood. She did not even notice that her nails had pierced into her palms and were bleeding. Cheap woman, cheap woman, cheap woman. She knew that this cheap woman would not let her go. As expected, when she appeared, His Highness' eyes never left her face. Her chair was on Chu Xiaoyang's right, and Chun Ning was sitting on Chu Xiaoyang's left. Chun Baiyun glared at Chun Ning, wishing she could dig 2 holes in her face. Chun Ning suddenly tilted her head and revealed a faint smile to Chun Baiyun. She gave a gentle greeting, as if she had just seen her. "Little sister, why are you staring at me like this? Let elder sister congratulate you in advance. Your wish will be fulfilled soon," she said with a smile. Chun Baiyun's body trembled and her heart began to beat fast. "What did you say?" "What I said, you'll know in a bit." Chun Ning was too lazy to care about her. If it wasn't for the wolf-like eyes staring at her face, she would have been too lazy to even say these words to her. She saw that there was a pile of peeled loquats in front of Chu Xiaoyang, revealing the glistening yellow flesh. She took one without any hesitation and placed it in her mouth. It was sweet and sour. It was very delicious. She took another one. "I peeled this for your highness," Chun Bai-yun angrily said. It's fine as long as she likes it." Chu Xiaoyang placed the loquats in front of Chun Ning. "Do you like lychees? This king will peel them for you." Ee. Did the sun rise from the west? Chun Ning looked at Chu Xiaoyang with a strange look, and then looked at the sun outside the main hall. Then she understood. She rubbed her cheeks and gave a sigh. In this day and age, one had to rely on one's face to eat. But seeing her face, Chu Xiaoyang's attitude changed 180 degrees. Wait a minute. This lecherous fellow wouldn't not agree to the separation just because he saw her face, right? "Chu Xiaoyang, do your words still count?" She ignored the peeled lychees in front of her and suspiciously looked at him. "This king has said many things. Which one are you referring to?" Chu Xiaoyang continued to peel the lychees as if nothing had happened. His slender and good-looking fingers had only ever held a weapon before and had never done such a thing as peeling a fruit, but he was peeling it with relish, as if he was in a good mood. Something was wrong. Chun Ning felt something was wrong the more she looked at him. She could not see through this Chu Xiaoyang at all. She had thought that after seeing her face, he would fly into a rage, gnash his teeth, and glare at her angrily. He would gnash his teeth and his eyes. His entire person was like the ice that had thawed, like the spring breeze and rain, and the corners of his eyes and brows were filled with gentleness. Chun Ning of lychees for her. Chun Bai-yun was so angry that her eyes turned red. No matter how good his highness was to her, he had never peeled a lychee for her. Ning of Ning of Chun of Ning. He Chun Ning of Ning. But in front of Chu Xiaoyang, she could only endure. Because of Chun Ning's next words, her heart jumped into her throat. "Chu Xiaoyang, you said that as long as I asked the emperor for a separation, you would agree." Chun Ning knit her brows. Seeing the completely different Chu Xiaoyang, she began to regret taking off her veil too early to let him see her face. What if he really went back on his words? Chapter 368. This gaze met the emperor's eyes. He was stunned. He never thought that the emperor would care about his family's matters. He curled his lips into a cold smile and looked away without leaving a trace, continuing to stare at her. "Why did you change into a dress?" He immediately saw that she was not wearing the embroidered phoenix robe that she wore when she entered the palace. His eyes immediately became fierce. "This is my first time meeting the emperor. I was too nervous and accidentally spilled the ink, dirtying it," Chun Ning said without changing her expression. She did not want Chu Xiaoyang to have any evidence against her. Although nothing had happened between her and Mo Chuan, who knew what Chu Xiaoyang's dirty head would think. What if he used this as an excuse to not separate? Really? He stared right in her eyes. "It's fake," she replied without even blinking. Strange. Seeing her honest eyes, he actually believed her and did not ask any more questions. The auspicious time has come. The flower feast will now begin. Tai Lin's sharp voice loudly rang out. The hall became silent once again. Everyone held their breaths as they looked at the emperor on the throne. Every year at this time, the emperor would say a few words and then the feast would begin. But today, everyone waited for a while, but the emperor did not say a single word. His deep eyes kept looking in a certain direction. Everyone couldn't help following the emperor's gaze and found that the emperor was actually looking at King Ding Yuan's table. It's coming. A good show was about to begin. The news of King Ding Yuan and his ugly princess wanting to separate in the past few days had already spread like wildfire. Everyone in the hall knew about it. A tall tree attracts the wind. King Ding Yuan, Chu Xiaoyang, showed off his abilities and had a high status. There were many people here who wanted to see him fail and see him make a fool of himself. They were all excitedly waiting for the show to begin. Am I seeing things? I'm actually seeing King Ding Yuan peel fruits for his princess. My eyes seem to be seeing things too. What is going on? Everyone was shocked by the scene in front of them. Not only did they see the arrogant Chu Xiao Yang personally peel lychees for his princess, he even sent it to his princess' lips with a smile, receiving a cold look from his princess. Chu Xiaoyang, stop playing tricks. Chen Ning pushed away the lychees that Chu Xiaoyang sent over and glared at him with knitted brows. He was doing this kind of intimate action in front of everyone. She was very clear on what his goal was. Chu Xiaoyang raised his brows and said in an uncaring voice, "If you don't like lychees, then how about this king peel a pear for you? This snow pear is sweet and crunchy. You will definitely like it. This snow pear is sweet and crisp. You will definitely like it." His expression was calm. In his eyes, there was only Chun Ning. It was like he did not know that everyone in the hall was looking at their table. The Emperor Imo Chuan's eyes were already so gloomy that it almost dripped water. "Chu Xiaoyang, what do you mean by this stinky brat?" The eldest princess had been staring at him for a long time and had endured him for a long time. With her explosive personality, she finally couldn't hold it back and slapped the table as she stood up. "Royal Aunt, this king is peeling a snow pear for this king's princess. If Royal Aunt wants to eat it, then I'll have to trouble Servant Yi to help Royal Aunt. The pears this king pears are only for Ning, or to eat." Chapter 369. The eldest princess was so angry that her face turned green. Her chest went up and down as she raised her hand to grab the sword at her waist. Yi Tingxian quickly placed his hand on hers and said in a soft voice, "Eldest princess, please calm your anger. If you like pears, Tingxian will help you peel them." He pinched the back of the eldest princess' hand a few times and said in a soft voice, "I think that brat is regretful, so let's just wait and see." The eldest princess glared at Chun Baiyun. "What regret? Can't you see that brat even brought his concubine?" Yi Tingxian just revealed a faint smile and personally peeled a pear. Only then did the eldest princess suppress her anger and sit down again. "Chu Xiaoyang, what do you want to do? Do you want to go back on your words?" If she wasn't sitting next to Chu Xiaoyang and personally seeing his lips open and close, Chen Ning would not have believed that these mushy words came out of his mouth. She didn't even know that Chu Xiaoyang had said those words. This king will never go back on the words he says. Chu Xiaoyang calmly said, "All right." Chen Ning gritted her teeth and suddenly stood up. "Emperor, this minister's concubine, Ding Yuan's princess, Chun has a matter to report to the emperor." She came out of the crowd, and a slender figure wearing a red dress bowed down to the emperor, sitting on the throne. This action was out of everyone's expectations. Even Chu Xiaoyang did not expect this. The snow pear bone in his hand fell to the ground, and his hands unknowingly turned into fists. The eldest princess slammed her right hand down on the table and praised, "Good." The emperor was especially silent today, not saying a single word. His face was calm, but in the depths of his unfathomable black eyes, there was a faint glow that no one could understand. "Miss Chun, please speak your mind." Mo Chuan finally slowly spoke. His voice was not fast or slow. There was nothing strange about it at all. Chen Ning felt a pair of wild beast-like eyes staring at her. She did not need to look up to know that this person was without a doubt Chu Xiaoyang. As for why Chu Xiaoyang suddenly became so attentive to her, she could guess it even if she thought with the back of her head. For this kind of bastard who judged people by their appearance, he must have seen her face and Chun Baiyun's disfigured face, so he began to transfer his passion for Chun Baiyun to her. Thinking of his mushy words and actions, she suddenly felt a chill. God, this man's face changed faster than flipping a book. She had never thought that there would be such a shameless and shameless man in this world. Did he think that by saying a few sweet words and peeling a few lychees in a pear, he would be able to make her change her mind and not divorce him? Chun Ning, never did things sloppily. Chun Ning, never did things sloppily. She wanted to cut through this mess quickly. Reporting to the emperor, this minister's concubine, Chun wants to ask the emperor to give a decree allowing this minister's concubine and King Ding Yuan, Chu Xiaoyang, to separate. She raised her head. Her eyes were filled with determination as she spoke each word. The hall was originally silent, but suddenly there was a sound of people sucking in cold air. Everyone's eyes were fixed on her face, and they were all thinking, "What a bold woman! She is Chun that she, and King. Chun King, that she. King, she and said she that she would. Chin Chu that she, he that she that. He that, and she. Chu Xiao Yang's right hand was holding a wine cup, but with a soft ka sound, the cup shattered to pieces. His palm immediately began to bleed, but he did not feel any pain. His eyes were like a wounded beast as he stared at Chun Ning without blinking. Chapter 370. Everyone in the hall held their breaths as they looked at the young emperor sitting on the dragon throne. The emperor's face was very calm. Hearing this shocking news, his brows did not even move at all. His voice was cold as he slowly spoke. "Miss Chun, have you thought it through?" "I've thought it through. I asked for the emperor's permission." Chun Ning resolutely replied. "All right, since it's like this one will immediately give the decree for your separation. Shall see, prepare the ink and write the decree." Mo Chuan said word for word. What kind of situation was this? Everyone could not believe their ears. The emperor actually agreed? He agreed. There was no questioning, no censure, no anger. There wasn't even a reason for the separation. The emperor's swift and decisive methods were becoming more and more powerful. "Many thanks." Chen Ning did not even have time to say the word emperor before she heard someone loudly say from the side, "Wait a minute." It was Chu Xiaoyang. Chen Ning knit her brows. She knew that he would not give up like this. Everyone looked at Chu Xiaoyang. In front of everyone's eyes, he calmly stood up and walked in front of Chen Ning. He gave a deep bow to Mo Chuan before speaking. "Emperor, Miss Chun wants to separate from this humble minister." Why didn't the emperor ask this humble minister's opinion before giving this decree so easily? He asked this question in a righteous tone that stunned Mo Chuan, making him unable to reply. There was a short period of silence in the hall. Mo Chuan's brows slightly lowered as his black eyes stared right at Chu Xiaoyang, like he wanted to see through his heart. "King Ding Yuan, what is your opinion?" His voice was calm, but there was a storm brewing behind it. Chu Xiaoyang acted like he did not hear the emperor's anger at all. He raised his brows as if nothing had happened and looked over everyone in the hall before slowly speaking. "This minister's opinion is..." He deliberately paused, and his eyes fell onto Chun Ning's face as his lips slowly curled up. "I don't agree." Chu Xiaoyang. Chun Ning really wanted to slap that evil smile off his face. She gritted her teeth and said, "I never thought that the respected King Ding Yuan would go back on his words. The words you said before, it was just like venting." Chu Xiaoyang gave a faint smile and calmly said, "This king's words are naturally valid, but this king doesn't remember promising you anything. This king only said that he would help you and bring you into the palace. You can ask for a divorce. Did this king say that he would agree to it?" You. Facing this unreasonable Chu Xiaoyang, Chun Ning's head was filled with rage. How could this man be this shameless? But if you can give this king a convincing reason for the separation, perhaps this king will agree to the separation. Chu Xiaoyang's tone suddenly changed. He looked at Chun Ning, whose face was red with anger, but it made her look even more beautiful. His mood was very good, and he had a smile on his face, not feeling any shame from being slapped in front of everyone. "Chen Shi, don't worry and speak boldly. As long as your words are reasonable, we will allow you to separate." Mo Chuan suddenly spoke again. His voice was clear and it echoed throughout the large hall. "King," he said, he King. "Chun, from King." The one who proposed the separation was the princess. His Highness was his blood-related nephew, and this marriage was personally given by the emperor. Now that the princess wanted to separate from his Highness, it was the same as throwing away the emperor's face. But not only was the emperor not angry, he was even. Now that Wang Fei wanted to separate from Wang Yi, it was the same as throwing away the emperor's face. But not only was the emperor not angry. Chapter 371. The smile on Chu Xiaoyang's face froze. He quickly raised his head and looked right at the emperor. He found that the emperor's face did not reveal any emotions, so he could not see anything. Chen Ning took a deep breath and tried to calm her anger that was about to explode. She already knew that Chu Xiaoyang was not easy to deal with, and it was just as she expected. Very good. Since you want a reason, I'll give you a reason. Chen Ning looked right at Chu Xiaoyang. That cold as ice gaze made him lose his mind for a moment. The first reason: on the night of our wedding, I was poisoned by someone and fainted after spitting out blood. You ignored me, and not only did you not ask for a doctor, you even sent me to the wooden hut to fend for myself. If it wasn't for a coincidence, the current Chen Ning would have already died. The second reason: you and I had an engagement, but before we were married, you had an affair with Chun Bai-yun and even made her pregnant. After being married for 3 days, I didn't even know if I was alive or dead, but you took her as a concubine. The third reason: after Chun Bai-yun married, she tried to harm me several times. I was almost killed by a horse, drowned by water, and exploded by explosives. But you turned a blind eye to all of this and allowed Chun Bai-yun to harm me again and again. Chu Xiaoyang, are these 3 reasons enough? Her chest was filled with anger. Her words were as smooth as flowing water, like an icy spring hitting a stone. Everyone in the main hall was stunned by her words, including Chu Xiaoyang. The smile on his face disappeared and was replaced with a pale face. His eyes were dark and his lips were tightly pursed, not saying a single word. Chen Ning raised her chin to look at him. Her eyes were filled with stubbornness as she gave a cold laugh in her heart. Since he didn't care about face, then she would expose his shortcomings in front of everyone and slap his face. The crowd in the main hall began to whisper to each other. I never thought that King Ding Yuan would be this heartless. Hey, he's still a king. He's worse than a beggar on the street to his wife. He has such a beautiful face for nothing, but he has such an ugly heart. He's not a thing, and his concubine is even worse. Everyone avoided the emperor's majesty and did not dare speak loudly. But although their voices were small, every word entered Chu Xiaoyang's ears. Although Chun Bai-yun was wearing a veil, she could feel the gazes coming at her like arrows, piercing through her veil. Her face turned red, and she wished she could bury her head under the table. The eldest princess' apricot eyes popped out, becoming angrier the more she listened. When Chen Ning finished, she pulled out her sword and cursed through gritted teeth. Stinky brat, Ning's is your legal princess, but you actually did this shameless thing to her. Stinky brat, Ning is your legal princess, and you actually deaded her. You. Today, this princess will first kill you, this heartless fellow, and then slaughter that vicious concubine of yours. She charged at Chu Xiaoyang, and Yi Tingxian quickly stopped her. Princess, please calm your anger. The emperor will make a decision on this matter. The eldest princess forcefully swung her sword and panted. Her eyes opened wide as she looked at Mo Chuan. Xiao King, she say, she wasn't Ning to her. King let out the Ning, she chins not to her. I ask royal brother to give the decree and allow them to separate. Mo Chuan's slender fingers were placed on the armrest of the dragon throne. His knuckles popped out as he tried to suppress the anger in his heart. His deep black eyes looked right at Chu Xiaoyang. His eyes were filled with hidden waves, but his voice was still calm. Chapter 372. Chu Xiaoyang was silent for a bit before replying. This minister has promised the emperor that I will treat her well for the rest of my life. I will cherish her, love her, and never change my heart. Very good, you still remember, Mo Chuan coldly said. Then the 3 reasons the princess gave, are they true? Chu Xiaoyang gritted his teeth and said they're true. Mo Chuan slowly nodded. Very good. Since it's like this, you've admitted that you betrayed young Miss Chun and broke your promise. So this one has given the decree for you to separate. What else do you have to say? Chu Xiaoyang looked up. He did not avoid the emperor's gaze, and instead calmly spoke. This minister still has the same 3 words. I don't agree. His back was straight as his eyes slowly swept over everyone in the hall. He saw that everyone was looking at him with looks of disdain. That gaze that was enough to kill already made Chun Baiyun feel ashamed, but there was no shame on his face at all. Chu Xiaoyang. Even if Mo Chuan was as calm as a mountain, he still wanted to slap his shameless face at this moment. Everyone was filled with even more disdain for Chu Xiaoyang. The eldest princess did not even want to look at him. She raised the jug of wine and poured it into her mouth. She was afraid that she would lose control and charge forward to kill this brat. Chu Xiaoyang did not look at everyone. He suddenly reached out and helped Chun Ning up from the ground, staring at her without blinking. Ning, if this king told you that the truth is not like what you said, and that none of the 3 reasons you gave are valid, would you still want to separate from this king? Not valid? Everyone was stunned as they all looked at Chu Xiaoyang. Chun Ning was also stunned. Then she reacted and coldly pushed Chu Xiaoyang's hand away. Chu Xiaoyang, you mean that I've wronged you? The person who betrayed you and was heartless wasn't you? She gave a sarcastic smile. The truth was right in front of him, but he still did not give up and did not want to separate. Did he care about her face that much? Ninger, everything you've said today is correct. This king has let you down, but that's not this king's fault. This king did not betray you or betray you. That's because this king didn't know that person was you. Chu Xiaoyang said word for word. As soon as his voice fell, Chun Baiyun's body trembled and her face turned whiter than paper. What did he mean he did not know that person was you? No matter how smart Chun Ning was, she could not understand Chu Xiaoyang's words. Chu Xiaoyang, what are you trying to say? What tricks are you trying to play in front of his majesty? Her of Chun, of her, of her, of her, of her. This king will never be of you. The heavens and earth can be my witness. The sun and moon can be my witness. Chun of your face, of. Lying to his face, aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? She could not hold it in any longer and flew up from her seat. Her movements were so fast that Yi Tingxian could not hold her back. Her sword glowed as she stabbed at Chu Xiaoyang. Cries of surprise immediately rang out in the main hall. Chu Xiaoyang stood in the same spot without moving. His eyes did not even blink as he looked at Chun Ning, treating everyone as nothing. He even treated the cold, glowing sword as nothing. Chapter 373. Chi. At this critical moment, the eldest princess' wrist trembled and the sword passed through his clothes, leaving a hole in his armpit. But Chu Xiaoyang was not injured at all. Although the eldest princess hated Chu Xiaoyang, he was still her blood-related nephew, and their relationship was not shallow. She just wanted to teach him a lesson. She did not want his life. But she was not willing to let him go like this. So she turned her hand, and with a pa sound, she slapped Chu Xiaoyang across the face. There were 5 red finger marks on his white as jade face. The eldest princess had used quite a bit of strength this time. Royal aunt, even if your nephew is in the wrong, you should wait for your nephew to finish speaking before hitting me. Otherwise, wouldn't your nephew's slap be unjust? Chu Xiaoyang gave a bitter laugh. He rubbed his sore cheeks and silently looked at the eldest princess. His eyes seemed to contain many complicated things, making the second slap that the eldest princess wanted to send out stop in midair. All right, this princess will listen to how you justify yourself. She angrily sheathed her sword and returned to her seat. Her phoenix eyes stared right at Chu Xiaoyang. Chun Ning never thought that the eldest princess would help her like this. Her heart was filled with gratitude as she looked at the eldest princess. Who would have thought that her chin would be pinched by Chu Xiaoyang? He raised her face and looked right at her. Ninger, focus a bit. This king has something to tell you. If you have something to say, then say it. Don't be so violent. Chun Ning slapped his hand away in disgust. Chu Xiaoyang was not angry and had a gentle expression, just like how he looked at Chun Baiyun in the past. That affectionate look made the hairs on Chun Ning's arm stand up. Chu Xiaoyang, if you have something to say, then say it. Can you not look at me with those disgusting eyes? Even if you don't find it disgusting, I'm about to vomit. Chu Xiao Yang's brows revealed a trace of anger, but he quickly calmed down and continued to reveal a gentle smile at her. Ning no matter what you say, this king will not be angry with you. I will never be angry with you. Too nauseating, Chen Ning decided to ignore him. If he wanted to put on an affectionate act, then he would. Emperor, do you remember that when you mentioned young Miss Chen's marriage to this humble minister in the past, young Miss Chen's reputation in the capital was not good? Everyone said that she was disgusting and had no good points at all. However, this official agreed to the marriage without hesitation. Is this true? Is this matter true? Chu Xiaoyang suddenly took a deep breath and turned to Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan gave a slight nod with a calm expression. That's right. You even promised in front of this one and great General Chun that you would treat young Miss Chun well for the rest of her life. Emperor, does this minister know why this minister was willing to marry a disgusting girl with a bad reputation? Great General Chun has done many meritorious deeds for my West Chu country and is loyal, but this minister will not treat my marriage as a game just because I respect Great General Chun. Your Majesty should know that this official is not a person who easily promises. Since I have promised, then I will keep my word. Chu Xiaoyang raised his head and puffed out his chest as he spoke. After he said this, most of the people in the hall nodded. Mo Chuan gave another slight nod. Of course, this one knows that you are a person who keeps his promises, so I personally arranged this marriage for you, but you still betrayed her. Chapter 374. She was her? What kind of riddle was Chu Xiaoyang playing? The people in the main hall all revealed looks of confusion. They could not understand this at all. That is because 8 years ago, this minister fell into the water and was saved by a 7 or 8-year-old girl. This minister swore in his heart that he would never marry anyone else but her. Later, this minister fainted, and when I woke up, she was already gone. This minister asked around and finally found out that she was the country protecting palace's young Miss Chun. So when the emperor proposed marriage to this minister agreed without any hesitation. Moreover, this minister swore in his heart that no matter how useless she was, this minister would only marry her in this life and love her alone. When the eldest princess heard this, she couldn't help slapping the table. Good. So you had this kind of relationship when you were young. Chu Xiaoyang, you don't know how to repay kindness. You're not worthy of being a human. Chen Ning suspiciously looked at Chu Xiaoyang. She had searched through the memories of the original Chen Ning and found that there was indeed such a thing, but it had been sealed for so long that the original Chen Ning couldn't remember it clearly. Chu Xiaoyang's face was calm. He turned around and only looked at Chen Ning as he spoke. Our wedding was approaching, and I wholeheartedly wanted to marry you. Who would have thought that 3 months before the wedding, I would suddenly find out a piece of news? The one who saved me in the past was not you, but rather your blood-related little sister Chun Baiyun. This news was like a heavy blow to my head, and I was stunned. I didn't believe it, so I secretly sent many people to investigate, but the results were all the same. It was Chun Baiyun, not you. After I confirmed it, the first thing I did was to go to the palace to ask the emperor to cancel the marriage. Who would have thought that the emperor would righteously scold me, saying that I was going back on my word and chasing me out? At that time, I really hated you. I hated you for breaking up my happy marriage. His voice was very calm when he spoke, but Chun Ning's body trembled when she heard this, and Chun Baiyun began to tremble. A person can't go back on their words. I still kept my promise and married you, but I won't love you. As long as you don't disturb me and Baiyun, I will give you a good life and let you live in the palace until you grow old. On our wedding night, you fainted and spat out blood. I thought you were pretending to be sick to get close to me, so I sent people to send you to the wooden hut. I never thought that 3 days later, when I married Baiyun, you would come to cause trouble at the wedding. From then on, I saw you as a thorn in my side. Baiyun tried to harm you several times, but I purposely ignored her because you had taken my place. If you died, everything would end. The eldest princess wanted to jump up several times when she heard this, but she was stopped by Chu. The hall was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Only Chu Xiaoyang's cold voice could be heard. Chen Ning looked at Chu Xiaoyang in a daze. Her eyes sparkled like she had vaguely guessed something. I always thought that the person who saved me was Bai Yun, so I always listened to her. You're right. I was always a fool, blind and deaf. Until that day, when you saved me in the lake and I saw your face, I finally realized the truth. The person who saved me 8 years ago was not Chen Bai Yun, but rather you. Saying this, Chu Xiaoyang's calm voice suddenly became excited as he grabbed Chen Ning's hand. So I've always loved the wrong person. Chen Ning's heart skipped a beat. His hand was burning hot, and it was like a flame was burning her heart. Chapter 375. After Chu Xiaoyang said this, he tightly pursed his lips and looked at Chen Ning with a serious expression. He was looking at her with great concentration. No one in the hall spoke. Even the eldest princess, who was the most angry at Chu Xiaoyang, did not say a word. After listening to Chu Xiaoyang's long explanation, her anger towards Chu Xiaoyang had unknowingly disappeared. She slightly opened her mouth and looked at the two of them. Mo Chuan's face was still expressionless, but only Xiao Si, who understood him the most, noticed that his sleeves on the chair were gently shaking. Chen Ning bit her lips, unable to say anything in a daze. She could see from Chu Xiaoyang's eyes and expression that he was not lying. Every word he said was the truth. She never would have thought that the truth would be like this. The young Chen Ning had saved Chu Xiaoyang, and Chu Xiaoyang had sworn to protect Chen Ning for the rest of her life. If it wasn't for Chen Bai Yun's substitution, the original Chen Ning would not have died in hatred. She would have lived a very happy life with Chu Xiaoyang. I was indeed wrong. My mistake was that I loved the wrong person. Now that I understand that cheap woman's scheme, I will not be deceived by her anymore. I will divorce her and chase her out of the king's palace. I will make her kowtow to you as an apology, and from now on, I will wholeheartedly treat you. You told me before that you wanted a unique man in this world, that he would never have multiple wives and concubines, that he only had you in his heart. This man is me, Chu Xiaoyang. He stared at her with sparkling eyes and high spirits. He had wanted to say these words to her that night, and now that he had finally said them, he believed that he was the man she wanted. Other than him, there was no one else. Chu Xiaoyang. Facing his passionate confession, Chen Ning's heart was in a mess. She could no longer tell what kind of feelings she had toward the man in front of her. It was like the situation had suddenly changed. After knowing the truth, she could no longer hate him, or despise him. He did not do anything wrong. Just like he said, his only mistake was loving the wrong person. But with one wrong step, every step was wrong. The real Chen Ning had died because of his mistake, and she would never be able to hear his thoughts again. Chu Xiaoyang, I can forgive you for what you did in the past. After thinking for a long time, she finally slowly opened her mouth. A look of joy flashed in Chu Xiaoyang's eyes, and his face lit up. Mo Chuan's eyes were so deep that it seemed like they were about to drip water. But I still want to separate from you. Chen Ning forcefully pulled her hand back and raised her chin, revealing a determined expression. What? Chu Xiaoyang's smile froze, and his eyes filled with disbelief. Chu Xiaoyang's smile froze, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Although she deserves to die, the child in her stomach is innocent. You can't divorce her, and you can't drive the woman who is pregnant with your child out of the Wang Fu. If you do this, I will think that you are heartless. Chen will never be able to share my husband with another woman. Chen Bai Yun's face was like ash, but after hearing Chen Ning's words, her eyes suddenly lit up. Her hand was placed on her slightly bulging stomach. That's right. As long as she had this child, no matter what she did wrong, His Highness would not leave her for the sake of this child. Chun He child. Chu Xiaoyang suddenly revealed a smile. His eyes looked over at Chen Bai Yun as he revealed an evil and wild smile. Chapter 376. What? Chu Xiaoyang's words were like a giant stone, creating 1,000 ripples. There was a buzzing sound of disbelief in the hall. Your Highness, you can wrongly accuse Yun of anything else, but the child in Yin-Er's stomach is yours. This is the truth. Chen Baiyin did not care about anything else. She rushed to Chu Xiaoyang's side and wanted to jump into his embrace. Chu Xiaoyang gently brushed her, and she fell to the ground. Covering her face, she began to cry out in pain, feeling heartbroken. Even in her dreams, she never would have thought that the man she loved the most, in order to please that cheap woman, would not even acknowledge his own flesh and blood. Chu Xiaoyang, do you want to make her child disappear and then push all the blame away? Although Chen Ning hated Chen Baiyun, seeing this scene, the anger she felt towards Chu Xiaoyang filled her chest. This man's heart was too black. In order to repay the debt of saving his life 8 years ago, he was willing to do anything. Now he was even denying the child in Chen Baiyun's stomach. The child in her stomach has nothing to do with me. Chu Xiaoyang. I, Chu Xiaoyang, dare to swear to the heavens that I have never touched her. Not before and not after marriage. Chu Xiaoyang firmly said. When Chen Baiyun heard this, she began to cry even louder. She sobbed as she said, Your Highness, if you have never touched Yin-Er, then whose child does Yin-Er's stomach belong to? On that night 4 months ago, Your Highness was drunk and entered Yin-Er's room. Yin-Er wanted to give you a bowl of hangover soup, but you suddenly pushed Yin-Er onto the bed and then, woo, woo, woo. She choked with sobs and couldn't continue. But everyone understood what was going on. They all revealed a look of understanding and looked at Chu Xiaoyang with a look of disdain. So it was a drunken act. Chu Xiaoyang just gave a cold laugh. He did not even look at Chen Baiyun kneeling at his feet, revealing a look of disgust. Chen Baiyun suddenly looked up at the high-up emperor. Emperor, this minister's concubine also dares to swear to the heavens that I have not said a single lie. If this minister's concubine is lying, then may this minister's concubine be struck by lightning, and the child I give birth to will also. Chu Xiaoyang suddenly cut her off. Chen Baiyun, you can say random things, but you can't make random vows. Especially don't use the child in your stomach to swear, otherwise you will regret it. Emperor, this minister's concubine is not lying. The child in this minister's concubine's stomach is King Ding Yuan's. Chen Baiyun's hair was a mess, and her eyes were red as she shouted out. Chen's concubine. Xiaoyang looked down from above and coldly looked at her. Is the truth really like what you said? For months ago, it was your wet nurse who came to report to me that you were the one who saved this king. This king was careless for a moment and actually believed her nonsense. Thus, I drowned my sorrows in wine, but I never expected that the wine would be drugged. Then, you appeared. Your appearance was somewhat similar to Ning-Er's. This king really thought that it was you, and with the effects of the drug, I nearly couldn't control myself and made a huge mistake. But at the last moment, this king's mind suddenly sobered up, so I pushed you away and jumped through the window. This king didn't touch you from the beginning to the end. Chun 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 chun. Chun 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 chun. Chun chun chun. Chun 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 chun. Chen Baiyun was stunned. She looked at Chu Xiaoyang in a daze and muttered as she shook her head. Chen Baiyun was stunned. She looked at Chu Xiaoyang in a daze and muttered while shaking her head. Chapter 377. You're about to die, and you still want to accuse this king. Chen Baiyun, there's actually a girl as shameless as you in this world. In order to marry this king, you even use this kind of method. You really are shameless. Chu Xiaoyang's face turned livid as he angrily glared at Chen Baiyun. Your Highness, Yin-Er really isn't lying. Yin-Er has always admired your Highness. How could I have an affair with another man? That night, Yin-Er saw it clearly. It was you. If your Highness wants to wrongly accuse Yin-Er, Yin-Er is willing to die to prove my innocence. Chen Baiyun cried as she crawled up from the ground, slamming her head into a nearby pillar. Very good, then you can go die. Chu Xiaoyang's lips curled into an indifferent cold smile, not even looking at Chen Baiyun from the corner of his eyes. Nonsense. It's all nonsense. The silent Mo Chuan suddenly spoke up. With a flick of his finger, a chopstick flew out and hit Chen Baiyun's knee. She fell to the ground and began to cry in sorrow. King Ding Yuan, Chen Baiyun insists that the child is yours. but you insist that it isn't. Since you know that the child in her stomach isn't yours, why do you want to marry a girl who has lost her virginity and is pregnant with someone else's child? Mo Chuan asked in a deep voice. Good question. Everyone gave out praises in their hearts before looking at Chu Xiaoyang. Chu Xiaoyang was silent for a bit before slowly looking up. His lips curled into a sarcastic smile. Because I don't care. Whether she has lost her virginity or is pregnant with someone else's child, I don't care at all. I only care about her. As long as I can marry her. So what if she has someone else's child? I will still treat her well, pamper her, love her, but I never thought that all of this would be a giant joke. I never thought that I, Chu Xiaoyang, would be deceived by others one day. I'm actually like a blind, deaf, and stupid person, pampering an enemy to the extreme, but treating the woman I love the most as an enemy. Ridiculous, truly ridiculous. He was clearly smiling, but his eyes unknowingly became wet. He proudly and stubbornly raised his head, looking up at the sky, not allowing the tears from the corner of his eyes to fall. The hall was silent. No one spoke. Chu Xiaoyang's words gave them a heavy shock. Had King Dingyuan gone crazy? He actually loved a woman to such an extent. TSK. As expected, if he wasn't crazy, then he was stupid. Many people shook their heads in disapproval. There were also many people who could not help but give him a thumbs up in their hearts. The young girls all looked at Chu Xiaoyang with gazes filled with adoration. This kind of man was worth entrusting their lives to. Why wasn't she the lucky girl he loved? Eldest Princess and Lu was extremely disappointed in Chu Xiaoyang, but now she was moved to tears and her heart softened. Xiaoyang, it's all Annie's fault. I misunderstood you and slapped you just now. Don't be angry at Annie. Does it still hurt? Full of regret and guilt, she stepped forward and touched the swollen finger mark that she had hit. Chu Xiaoyang took a deep breath and calmed his surging heart. He shook his head at the eldest princess with a faint smile. Royal aunt slap is good. This nephew has eyes but cannot see, loving the wrong person. This nephew deserves royal aunt's lesson. This nephew's face does not hurt, but this place is very painful. If Ning still does not forgive this nephew and insists on separating, then this nephew will die of heartache. Chapter 378. This change was out of everyone's expectations, including Chun Ning. She never would have thought that the Chu Xiaoyang she looked down on would be this kind of passionate man. He could be called a love saint. Just to repay the grace of saving his life 8 years ago, he didn't even remember the other party's appearance. But he loved a woman to the point of not caring about anything else. But she did not believe it. Perhaps there was a love saint like this in this world, but it definitely would not be Chu Xiaoyang. As for why he had to put on this kind of emotional show in front of everyone, there was only one reason. It was because he did not want to separate, and he would not let go of her. The more emotional he acted, the more disgusted she became. His handsome and affectionate appearance only made her feel disgusted. Ning, now that all the misunderstandings have been solved, the person in Xiaoyang's heart has always been you. He only mistook you for that cheap servant Chun Baiyun. So can you forgive him? He will definitely make up for his past mistakes and treat you like a treasure. If you're still angry at him, this princess will immediately make him kowtow to you as an apology. The eldest princess had completely changed sides and had wholeheartedly become Chu Xiaoyang's lobbyist. Ning, as long as you're willing to forgive me, I'm willing to kneel down to you in front of everyone. Chu Xiaoyang suddenly said in a clear voice. Wang. The main hall was filled with an uproar. A respected king was actually going to kneel down to a woman in front of everyone. Did they hear wrong? If he knelt down, would he be able to raise his head in front of everyone in the future? It seemed like this King Ding Yuan really loved his princess to the extreme. The eldest princess' mouth could not close as she stared at Chu Xiaoyang in disbelief. She had just casually said it, but she never thought that Chu Xiaoyang would really kneel. Too touching, too affectionate. She suddenly forcefully patted Chu Xiaoyang's shoulder and praised. Good brat, your aunt really did not love you for nothing. You really suit this princess taste. Haven't you always wanted this princess's good sword? I'll give it to you." She took off the dragon's spring sword from her waist and gave it to Chu Xiaoyang. Chu Xiaoyang did not take it and looked at Chen Ning with a faint smile. "Compared to Ning, and nothing in this world is precious. Ninger, if you don't say anything, I'll treat it as you agreeing. After I kneel, we'll get back together, all right?" His expression and voice were so gentle that the hearts of the girls in the hall bloomed with peach blossoms. They believed that no one in this world would reject this kind of gentleness and love. In that instant, Chen Ning felt her heart violently tremble, especially when she looked into his eyes. She had never seen such deep affection and gentleness in his eyes. He had always been arrogant and rude, but he was willing to kneel down and admit his wrongs in front of the emperor and all the civil and military officials of the court. This kind of humility, if he didn't love her to the extreme, how could he do it? Should she believe in him? Should she believe him? Her mind, which had always been calm and clear, suddenly became confused. If he was really acting, then his acting was too good and too realistic. Even she couldn't tell if it was real or not. Chen Ning forcefully bit her lips, not saying a single word. Her heart was a mess, and so was her mind. She could only stare at him in a daze. Then she saw his tall and slender body slowly shrink in front of her. Chapter 379. The hall once again filled with an incredible wong sound. On the throne, Imo Chuan's eyes were still dark, and he did not say a word. Only when he saw this scene, the light in his eyes instantly dimmed, and his knuckles on the throne turned white. "Ninger, forget my past mistakes. From now on, I, Chu Xiaoyang, swear that you will be the only woman in my life, and I will never let you down." Chu Xiaoyang kneeled in front of Chen Ning and looked up. His handsome face was filled with high spirits. No one knew that his heart was beating wildly, and that he, too, was afraid and timid. But the way she looked at him gave him courage and encouragement. She did not reject him. So did that mean that he was in her heart? Chen Ning felt like she was in a dream. It was very unreal. If what Chu Xiaoyang said was true, then wouldn't the separation she wanted with all her heart become a joke? But no matter how he treated her, the person she loved was not him, because the true Chen Ning who loved him and was infatuated with him was already dead. If the true Chen Ning heard Chu Xiaoyang's confession today, she would have no regrets even if she died. It was a pity that she could not hear it. "Chu Xiaoyang, stand up." She bit her lips. Although it was hard to reject him, she had to say it. She did not want to lie to him, whether it was true or not. She had to personally tell him in front of everyone that she did not love him. "Ninger, you don't need to say anything. I understand." Chu Xiaoyang suddenly stood up and interrupted her with a smile. His face was glowing, and his smile made his handsome face even more radiant. He held her hand. "We still have a long time in the future. You have a lifetime to tell me. No matter what you say, I will love to hear it." Chen Ning was speechless again. Did this man need to be this confident and conceited? Her heart slowly sank because she knew that she had wasted her time coming to the palace today. Now everyone was standing on Chu Xiaoyang's side, and even the eldest princess who supported her was moved by Chu Xiaoyang. Then what about the emperor? She suddenly did not dare look up at Imo Chuan's expression. We still have a long time in the future. When Chen Baiyun, who had been forgotten by everyone, heard this familiar sentence, her body suddenly trembled. Just a few days ago, that beautiful man was holding her in his arms and making a promise to her in a gentle manner. But in the blink of an eye, he had made the same promise to another woman. She looked over with teary eyes, only to see a handsome young man and a beautiful young lady, like a perfect couple. Her gaze fell on the hands of the two of them, and hatred and anger burst forth in her chest at the same time. Why was it that they wanted to be together, but she had to bear this pain alone? Ha 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 ha. Chen Baiyin suddenly opened her mouth and gave a wild laugh. She forcefully pointed at Chu Xiaoyang. Chapter 380. Her eyes were scattered and her face was covered in tears. She was hugging her stomach as she sat on the ground, laughing like she was crying. The hearts of the people in the hall were shocked. Although they all despised Chun Bai-yun's character, her words were not without reason. For a matter like the love affair between a man and a woman, how could it be explained with just a single mouth? Whether the child in Chun Bai-yun's stomach was King Ding Yuan's or not, this was a difficult question that no one could guess. So everyone looked over at the emperor. The emperor was wise. He would definitely make the fairest decision. Mo Chuan's brows slightly knit, but his heart could not make a decision. Chu Xiaoyang had made a solemn vow, and Chun Bai-yun was certain. The two of them did not seem like they were lying, but there was indeed a child in Chun Bai-yun's stomach. Ding Yuan princess. He suddenly spoke up and looked at Chun Ning. Between the two of them, who do you believe? Chun Ning was also thinking about this question. If she analyzed it from his micro-expressions and actions, Chu Xiaoyang was not lying, but Chun Bai-yun's heart-tearing pain came from the bottom of her heart. Ning-er, say you believe me. Chu Xiaoyang suddenly lifted her chin and forced her to look at him with a burning gaze. She instinctively raised her hand to hit his hand. He was still as domineering and overbearing as ever. Why should she believe him? Ning-er, his eyes revealed a wounded beast-like look as he forcefully grabbed her shoulder. Believe me, I, Chu Xiaoyang, dare to take responsibility for my actions. If I did it, I will admit it, but if it wasn't me, no one can blame this child on me. Your Highness, you cannot want me, but you can't not want your own flesh and blood. You promised me that when he was born, you would give him the title of successor. Other than you, Yin-er has never had another man before. Yin also understands propriety and shame. Yin-er is not a bad woman that can be married to anyone. Chun Bai-yun cried out in a pitiful voice. Even the eldest princess who hated her the most felt her heart soften when she saw this and turned her face away. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes were filled with flames as he walked over. He grabbed Chun Bai-yun's hair and stared at her with blood-red eyes. Cheap woman, you're still not willing to tell the truth. Do you believe that this king won't take your life right now? Chun Bai-yun's head was filled with pain. She raised her head and large drops of tears fell from her eyes, but she looked at him with her eyes that did not contain a single trace of fear. Chun Bai-yun felt a sharp pain on her head. She raised her head and large drops of tears fell from her eyes, but she looked at him with her eyes wide open. There was no fear in her eyes at all. Everything I said is the truth. Your Highness, Yin-er is sincere towards you, and Yin-er only has you as a man. If you don't believe Yin-er, then you can personally kill us mother and son. Dying in the hands of the man I love, I is willing. Chu Xiaoqing, Chun Bai-yun, Chu Xiaoyang was filled with rage as his 5 fingers tightly gripped Chun Bai-yun's throat. He used a lot of strength, and Chun Bai-yun couldn't breathe as her face turned purple. King Ding Yuan, don't be arrogant. Mo Chuan finally couldn't hold back his anger. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes were filled with rage, and he pretended not to hear it. His fingers tightened, and Chun Bai-yun's tongue was already sticking out. It was clear that she was about to die on the spot. 1 corpse and 2 lives. The surrounding guards wanted to stop him, but seeing Chu Xiaoyang's face filled with killing intent, who dared to come forward? Chapter 381. Her cold voice was like an ice spring, instantly extinguishing the flames in Chu Xiaoyang's heart. His body trembled and he calmed down. He slowly released his fingers. Chun Bai-yun's eyes had already turned white from his grip, and she fell to the ground. Ning, your meaning is that if this cheap woman doesn't die, you have a way to prove that the child in her stomach isn't mine? Quickly say it. What method is it? Chu Xiaoyang's eyes lit up, and he quickly grabbed her wrist. He was smart enough to figure out what she was trying to say from her words. Chen Ning knit her brows. If you have something to say, then say it properly. There's no need to move your hands. She broke free of his grasp. Ding Yuan princess, do you have a way to prove King Ding Yuan's innocence? Mo Chuan's eyes also lit up. Chun Ning slowly nodded. There is indeed a way to prove it, but it can't be done right now. Why can't it be done? As long as you say it, this king will definitely be able to do it. Say it. Say it. Chu Xiaoyang excitedly shouted. You can do it? Can you immediately let the child in Chun Bai Yun's stomach come into being? Her lips curled up, and she revealed a sarcastic smile. What do you mean? Chu Xiaoyang was confused. Chen Ning calmly said, the method I'm talking about is to wait. Wait for Chun Bai Yun's child to come into being. As long as we do a blood test, the truth will be revealed when the time comes. So, if you want to prove that your child isn't your flesh and blood, you have to let her live well and let her safely give birth to the child. Blood test? Good method, good method. Gasps of admiration immediately rang out in the hall. And Mo Chuan also gave a slight nod, and his eyes filled with praise as he looked at Chen Ning. The Dingyuan princess method is very good. He slowly said, blood testing was a simple and effective method, but he never thought that this girl's mind would turn faster than anyone else's. Only like this, they would have to wait several months before they could find out the truth. Many thanks for the emperor's praise. Chen Ning said this in a humble manner. Her eyes swept over Chun Bai Yun's face. She whispered in her heart. When Chun Bai Yun heard this blood test, not only did she not panic, her eyes revealed a look of joy. Could the child in her stomach really be Chu Xiaoyang's? She did not care about the truth of the matter. Whether it was or not, she would not fall in love with Chu Xiaoyang. All right, then I'll let this slut live for another 5 months. When she gives birth to a vile spawn and proves that it has nothing to do with this king, she'll be executed as well. Chu Xiaoyang coldly said. Those words without any emotion made Chun Bai Yun's body tremble. Tears poured out as she said in a trembling voice, Your Highness, Yin is infatuated with you, but you hate Yin and your own flesh and blood so much. Even if Yin lied to you, the child is innocent. Yin, you have a heart. You have Yin and your own son. You, Chen Chun said, Yin, Ning, Chun. Chu Xiaoyang did not even look at Chun Bai Yun as he pulled Chen Ning's hand. Chen Ning took a step back and dodged his touch. She looked down and said, Your Highness, please respect yourself. Before the truth is revealed, it's best if we keep our distance. All right, I'll listen to you. I'll listen to whatever you say. Chu Xiaoyang was not angry. Rather, he raised his brows and said, When the truth is revealed, you'll be willing to throw yourself into my embrace. Ning I'm willing to wait. Nauseating, Chen Ning stroked the hairs on her arm and rolled her eyes at him. Chapter 382. Emperor, this minister's concubine still has a request. Chen Ning came forward and bowed down to Mo Chuan. Speak. Mo Chuan looked down at the red figure in the center of the hall. His eyes were complicated and his heart was filled with mixed feelings. She was only a few steps away from him, but he knew that she was already out of his reach. Once it was confirmed that Chun Bai Yun's child was not Chu Xiaoyang's flesh and blood, she would reconcile with Chu Xiaoyang, and she would still be Chu Xiaoyang's princess. She would not have a reason to separate. He closed his eyes. He had a very beautiful dream before, but now it was time to wake up from that dream. Emperor, this minister's concubine wants to leave the palace while Chun Bai Yun is in labor and temporarily return to the country protecting palace. I asked for the emperor's permission. Chen Ning had already made up her mind. She would not stay in the King Ding Yuan palace. Otherwise, Chu Xiaoyang would keep bothering her. No, you can't. Before Mo Chuan could say anything, Chu Xiaoyang's expression had already changed. He decisively said, Ning, you are this king's princess. You can't return to the country protecting palace. This king is your home. If you are afraid that this king will go back on his words, this king can promise you that without your permission, this king will not touch a single finger of yours. Chen Ning did not even look at him. She slightly raised her chin and revealed a determined expression. I asked the emperor for permission. All right, this one will grant your request. Mo Chuan said without any hesitation. Emperor, Chu Xiaoyang's chest tightened as he looked up at Mo Chuan. This is this minister's family matter. I asked the emperor not to interfere. He slightly knit his brows. The emperor today was too strange. He was always unintentionally favoring his princess, even though he was clearly his blood-related nephew. And Mo Chuan's expression did not change as he revealed a serious expression. That's right, it is indeed your family matter, but it is also this one's family matter. This one is doing this for your own good. This one sentence made Chu Xiaoyang speechless. Someone, send Shen Baiyun to the cold palace and have her eat on time. Send a doctor to check her pulse 3 times a day, making sure the child in her stomach is safely born. Mo Chuan lightly ordered. Several guards came forward to take Chen Baiyun away. Chen Baiyun did not resist at all as her eyes followed Chu Xiaoyang, but he did not even look back. Emperor, are you afraid this minister will secretly do something? Chu Xiaoyang asked through gritted teeth. Emperor, are you afraid this minister will secretly do something? King Ding Yuan, you're thinking too much. Chen Baiyun will stay in the palace to give birth and wait for the day she gives birth to a blood test. Only then will everyone be convinced. Otherwise, others will say that you, King Ding Yuan, swapped your child, which won't count. What? Are you not satisfied with this one's arrangement? Mo Chuan calmly said. Mo Chuan said, King Chen's heart. This arrangement seemed reasonable, but Chu Xiaoyang could feel something strange at his heart. Mo Chuan said. Mo Chuan's heart. Very good. Since it's like this, King Ding Yuan and the princess can return to their seats. Today's flower viewing banquet will officially begin. At the side, Sealy Tai Lin immediately drawled out his praise. The emperor has decreed that the spring banquet will begin. The eunuchs and maids came in, bringing out the delicacies and wine. The dishes were fragrant and the wine was thick. Scene after scene, the ups and downs were endless. Everyone was so engrossed in watching that they even forgot about today's official business. Seeing the exquisite dishes and the fragrant wine, they were filled with excitement. After everyone prayed to the emperor, they began to drink and toasted each other. Chapter 383. Mo Chuan was sitting high up on the dragon throne. His slender fingers held a cup of wine, but he did not bring it to his lips. Looking around, the ministers and families were all filled with joy. Everyone was enjoying the fragrance, drinking the wine, and admiring the flowers. Everyone's hearts were filled with joy. Only his heart was filled with melancholy. He really wanted to look at someone, but he couldn't, and he didn't dare look. He could only control his gaze and not look in that direction. His heart was filled with annoyance. He raised the cup and drank it all in one gulp. After waiting for a while, he did not see Xiao Si pour any wine for him. Xiao Si. He glanced over and saw Xiao Si standing behind him. His eyes were in a daze, not knowing what he was thinking. He did not even notice that his cup was empty. Emperor, this servant deserves to die. Xiao Si suddenly came back to his senses. Seeing Mo Chuan's deep eyes staring at him, he was so scared that his body trembled and he fell to the ground. What are you panicking for? Pour wine for this one. Yes. Xiao Si picked up the wine jug and poured wine. Who would have thought that his hand would suddenly tremble and the wine would fall onto the back of Mo Chuan's hand? He was covered in a cold sweat from fright, and he fell to the ground again. This servant deserves to die. This servant deserves to die. Mo Chuan did not say anything and just stared at him. After a while, he finally spoke in a calm voice. Speak. What have you done to let this one down? Emperor. Xiao Si's head drooped down, not daring to look up. Speak. Xiao Si had a crying face. Emperor, this servant deserves to die. This servant went to the Empress Dowager's palace. Before he finished, he raised his hand and fiercely slapped himself. This servant spoke too much. I'll slap this talkative servant. Mo Chuan immediately understood his meaning and his chest filled with rage. He forcefully threw the wine cup, and with a crisp sound, it shattered into pieces. This servant deserves to die. Xiao Si kept kowtowing. Some of the ministers noticed the abnormality and turned their gazes over. Mo Chuan angrily shouted in a deep voice, Scram! Why aren't you sending the Ding Yuan princess out of the palace? Xiao Si quickly crawled up from the ground. He knew that he had caused a large disaster, and his face turned pale. Yes, yes, yes. This servant will immediately go. When he was prepared to head in Chun Ning's direction, he suddenly heard a loud voice announcing his arrival. The Empress Dowager has arrived. When the people in the hall heard this, they all put down their chopsticks and cups and stood up. Didn't they say that the Empress Dowager had been ill for a long time? Didn't they say that the Empress Dowager was sick? Soon after, everyone came to a realization. Some ministers and officials who had brought their wives and daughters to attend the banquet couldn't help but reveal a knowing smile on their faces. The Empress Dowager had personally come to pick the emperor's concubine. The emperor had not had the emperor's concubine. Yet, Mo Chuan angrily glared at Xiao Si. It was already impossible to send Chun Ning away because the Empress Dowager's carriage had already appeared outside the refreshing palace. Mo Chuan in. With it. There. With the eight-eyed all. With the light, the emperor said the sea, in. Mo Chuan took a deep breath and walked down from the dragon throne, taking the lead to welcome them. We greet the Empress Dowager. We wish the Empress Dowager good health. The ministers in the hall all knelt down behind Mo Chuan. Chu Xiaoyang also pulled Chun Ning to kneel behind everyone. Chapter 384. Empress Dowager Zhou was only around 50 years old. Her hair was half black and half white. The corners of her eyes were filled with wrinkles, and her face was pale. She looked much older than her actual age. It must be because she had been sick for many years. Although she had a sickly expression, her phoenix eyes gave off a powerful aura. She was normally very strict, not even smiling in front of her own son, Mo Chuan. Only when she appeared today, her expression was very gentle as she revealed a faint smile to Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan's heart skipped a beat, but his face did not reveal anything. Everyone rise. Empress Dowager Zhou's voice was calm as she slowly spoke. Only then did everyone stand up, still standing respectfully. Mother, your body is sick, so why did you come to the banquet? If your illness worsens, wouldn't your son be worried? Mo Chuan took the cloak from the Empress Dowager's maid and personally put it on Empress Dowager Zhou. Today is the Emperor's good day. How could this widow not come? The Emperor doesn't need to worry. This widow's old bones can still hold on. Empress Dowager Zhou revealed a faint smile and held Mo Chuan's hand as she walked into the hall. Her seat was placed beside the dragon throne. When Empress Dowager Zhou and the Emperor were both seated, everyone in the hall let out a sigh of relief. Especially the young girls. They all had nervous expressions with shy faces. Some were playing with their clothes, and some were holding onto their handkerchiefs. Chun Ning saw that these young girls were all smiling like flowers, but now they had all turned into shy roses. After thinking about it for a bit, she understood the reason. She couldn't help raising her long eyelashes as she looked over at the bright yellow figure sitting high up on the dragon throne. Could it be that today's spring banquet was a good day for him to choose a wife? Her eyes met Mo Chuan's. Mo Chuan's black eyes flashed with a look that she couldn't understand. He only looked at her before silently looking away. He personally poured wine for Empress Dowager Zhou beside him, not looking at Chun Ning a second time. There were so many beautiful flowers here. He couldn't even look at them. So how could he notice her? Chun Ning's lips curled into a smile. She raised the wine cup in front of her and drank it all in one gulp. Ning-er, good alcohol tolerance. I couldn't tell that you liked drinking. How about we compete? The eldest princess was sitting beside her. Seeing her drink so freely, she excitedly looked for her to compete. She was in high spirits today, especially after seeing the misunderstanding between Chu Xiaoyang and Chun Ning disappear. Although she saw that Chun Ning was still coldly ignoring Chu Xiaoyang, she thought that there would be a long time in the future. After all, Chu Xiaoyang had deeply hurt her heart. In the future, the two of them would be deeply in love and a harmonious couple, just like her and Yi Tingxian. Ning old Yi. All right, since the eldest princess wants it, I will of Ning's ye. Eldest Ning, Ning's old I Ning's. Chu, and of Ling old Chun. Chu, of Chu Chun. Ning, his face of he Chun Ning's face instantly sunk. Chu Xiaoyang, what do you mean? With him by her side, she didn't even feel happy drinking. This king is only feeling sorry for you, afraid that you'll get drunk. Although this wine is delicious, drinking too much is bad for your body. Ninger, this is a fruit from the other side. It's sweet and juicy. Try it. Do you like it? Chu Xiaoyang cut open a yellow melon, and the sweet fragrance filled the air. He personally placed it by Chun Ning's lips. When the eldest princess saw this, she couldn't help looking at Yi Ting Xian and giving a snort. Chapter 385. Chen Ning's heart suddenly skipped a beat. She looked down and absent-mindedly took the melon Chu Xiaoyang handed over and took a bite. Only although the melon was sweet, when she ate it, there was a faint bitter taste to it. Chu Xiaoyang was surprised and happy. She actually did not reject it. The eldest princess ate the melon while looking over the dozen young girls. She shook her head and said, "This princess can't see it. None of these girls are worthy of royal brother. They all know how to flirt. They don't look like men at all." Yi Ting Xian gave a rare laugh. "Eldest princess, this is choosing a concubine for the emperor, not choosing a general to fight on the battlefield. But even if it's a girl, they have to be straightforward. Ninger is also a girl, but she doesn't act pretentious at all. I can see that royal brother doesn't like any of these girls. The Dingyuan princess is the daughter of a general. Naturally, she is different from the other girls. Then again, the eldest princess doesn't like pretentious girls, but the emperor doesn't like them either." Yi Ting Xian shook his head with a smile. This princess and royal brother grew up together. What this princess likes, royal brother will like. What this princess doesn't like, royal brother will definitely not like. The eldest princess said in a confident voice. Chu Xiaoyang's ears perked up, and he suddenly said, "Then according to royal aunt's meaning, if you like Ninger, will the emperor also like Ninger?" The eldest princess said without hesitation, "Of course. If he doesn't like her, why would he?" "Wu, Ting Xian, what are you doing?" Her mouth was suddenly stuffed with a large piece of melon by Yi Ting Xian. "Eldest princess, you've drunk too much wine, so you should eat some more to sober yourself up. Don't lose your manners in front of the Empress Dowager and the Emperor. If you're drunk, this prince consort can't carry you." Yi Ting Xian revealed a gentle smile as he changed the topic. "What a joke. This princess only drank a cup of wine. How could I be drunk? You're laughing at this princess' alcohol tolerance. Do you dare to compete with this princess in drinking? If you're drunk, this princess will carry you back to the palace. All right, let's compete." Yi Ting Xian and the eldest princess drank cup after cup of wine, not mentioning the word emperor again. But the eldest princess didn't mean it, but the listener heard it. That sentence was like a thorn stabbing into Chu Xiaoyang's heart. He looked up at the emperor on the dragon throne. Mo Chuan was currently talking to Empress Dowager Zhou. He didn't know what the mother and son were talking about, but they had smiles on their faces. Mo Chuan didn't even look in his direction, but he still felt that something was wrong. Today, his uncle emperor's behavior was different from usual, especially when Chun Ning brought up the separation. Although the emperor was expressionless like usual, when Chu Xiaoyang thought back to that time, he could think of something different. The emperor had always stood on her side, whether intentionally or not, as if he could not wait for them to separate. "Why?" Chu Xiaoyang picked up the cup of wine in front of him and slowly brought it to his lips, but he did not drink it. There was a faint fragrance on the wine cup, and he brought it to his nose to sniff it. Out of the corner of his eyes, he looked at her. Her starry eyes were slightly lowered, covering her dazzling eyes. She seemed to be indifferent to everything and didn't even look at him. He had already cut open his heart and placed it in front of her, but she was still so indifferent. When she went to see the emperor, she was clearly wearing a veil and a bright red phoenix dress. But when she came back, she had taken off her veil and changed into a red begonia flower dress. When she went to see the emperor, she was clearly wearing a veil and a bright red embroidered lawn robe. But when she came back, she took off her veil and changed into a red begonia flower embroidered dress. When she went to see the emperor, she was clearly wearing a veil and a bright red phoenix dress, but when she came back, she had taken off her veil and changed into a red begonia flower dress. Chu Xiaoyang's heart was filled with countless questions. There was a faint answer in his heart that he did not dare think about. Chapter 386. With a ka sound, the wine cup in his hand suddenly shattered. He had unknowingly used strength and actually shattered the wine cup. The sharp pieces of porcelain pierced into his palm, and dark red blood flowed down his slender fingers. Was it painful? It wasn't. Compared to the giant fear in his heart, he didn't feel any pain at all. Xiaoyang, what's wrong? Although the eldest princess was competing in drinking with Yi Tingxian, she still noticed his broken wine cup and his bleeding hand. It's nothing. This wine cup is too weak. I didn't even use any strength before it shattered. Chu Xiaoyang opened his palm and reached it in front of Chen Ning with a faint smile. Ninger, can you help me wrap it up? He had a smile on his face, but that smile did not reach his eyes. Not long ago, his hand had also bled. Chen Baiyun immediately noticed it and was even more worried than if she had been injured herself. But what about her? Only when he placed his bleeding hand in front of her did she look up. Looking at his bleeding hand, her face was still that calm. What? Seeing him injured and bleeding, she didn't feel any pain. Chu Xiaoyang stared at her without blinking. I'll use wine to help you clean your wound. It might hurt a bit. Chen Ning's expression was normal. Her long eyelashes gently moved like a fan, covering her eyes, making it impossible for him to guess what she was thinking. She first picked out the porcelain pieces in his palm, and her movements were very gentle. Then she dipped a handkerchief in the wine and wiped away the blood around the wound. The wine inevitably entered the wound, and it brought a burning pain. Chu Xiaoyang's heart was filled with a sweet feeling. Her careful movements and focused eyes made him feel an indescribable sweetness. His lips couldn't help curling into a smile. The eldest princess saw this, and she muttered in her heart, "This brat's wound is so deep. If he uses wine to clean it, how painful would it be? But he can still smile? Is he stupid?" She followed his gaze and saw that his eyes were staring right at Chen Ning's face. Even if she was slow, she could still understand why Chu Xiaoyang was smiling. I really hope that the two of them can be like us, living happily together. She turned to look at Yi Tingxian and gave a heartfelt sigh. Then she raised her cup and drank it all. Chen Ning's fingers gently trembled as she tied a knot on her handkerchief like nothing had happened. She said, "All right, it won't bleed anymore. Drink less and eat less spicy things. Your wound will quickly heal." Chu Xiaoyang's hand turned and tightly held the slender hand she did not have time to pull back. "Ninger, you still care about me, don't you?" His eyes were filled with passion. "Chu Xiaoyang, let go. We're in front of everyone. Don't pull me back." Chen Ning forcefully pulled back, but he did not let go. He did not care that the bandaged wound had split open again. Blood dyed the handkerchief, and her hand read. Not why this king Chen Ning Yang, Chen is Chen. She did not know why, but Chen Ning felt that when he said the word emperor, his tone was a bit heavy. She silently let him hold her hand and looked up at him. Those clear eyes made his heart skip a beat. Ning, this king is not an idiot. This king is smarter than you think. There are some things this king doesn't say, but that doesn't mean this king doesn't know. Chapter 387. Chen Ning's fingers couldn't help trembling. Her expression was calm as she said, "He is a lone Jianghu hero. How could he stay by my side as a guard? If he wants to leave, he can leave. If he wants to stay, he can stay. What? Do you want to take revenge on him?" Chu Xiaoyang's left hand in his sleeve unconsciously clenched. He did not ignore her slight tremble just now. He had guessed it right. If he leaves, it's best if he never appears again. Otherwise, this king will not let him go. His expression was dark and gloomy, and his eyes were cold and gloomy. Suddenly, he felt a sharp light shoot at him, but when he looked up, the cold light disappeared. Chu Xiaoyang, if you don't let go, do you want to bleed to death? Chen Ning felt her hand become hotter and wetter. The entire handkerchief was dyed red with blood, but Chu Xiaoyang's hand continued to use force and blood continued to seep out of the wound. If this king's blood can be exchanged for a single drop of your tears, even if I bleed to death, this king is willing. Chu Xiaoyang revealed a faint smile and finally slowly let go. Chen Ning bit her lips. Do you have any Jinchuang medicine? I don't. Chu Xiaoyang casually picked up a jug of wine and poured it over his right hand. The blood mixed with the wine fell to the ground. Was it painful? He did not feel any pain at all. He smiled as he used his teeth to tear off a piece of his clothes and tightly wrapped it around his hand. This kind of ugly and terrifying wound, he did not want her to see it. No one in the hall noticed this scene, but even if Mo Chuan did not look, the corner of his eyes never left that direction. He was a bit absent-minded, not even hearing Empress Dowager Zhou's question. Emperor? Emperor? Empress Dowager Zhou called out to him twice with a look of surprise on her face. The emperor was her biological son. From the moment she stepped into the hall, she felt that the emperor was a bit strange. He frequently served her food and chatted with her. On the surface, it looked like he was a loving mother and a filial son, but she knew her son better than anyone else. He was naturally aloof, cold, and didn't like to speak much. Even to his birth mother, he had never spoken as much as he did today. Could it be that what Xiao Si said wasn't wrong and the emperor's heart was moved? Empress Dowager Zhou was an experienced person. She carefully looked at Mo Chuan and found his abnormality. He was obviously absent-minded, and his eyes kept glancing down the hall. What was below the hall? Naturally, it was filled with young girls who were more beautiful than flowers, fresh and tender. Empress Dowager Zhou pursed her lips and smiled. She remembered the reason she came here today. Mother, why are you calling your son? Mo Chuan came back to his senses. This widow's old eyes are blurred. There are hundreds of flowers blooming today, but this widow cannot see which flower is the most beautiful. Emperor, can you help this widow pick out the most fragrant and beautiful flower? Empress Dowager Zhou said with a smile. Reporting to Mother, your son has never liked flowers. I can't tell which flower is the most beautiful. Mo Chuan was very smart, immediately understanding Empress Dowager Zhou's meaning, directly rejecting her. Empress Dowager Zhou was not annoyed. She narrowed her eyes and looked at the group of young girls in the hall. She saw that they were all beautiful. She smiled and said, It's rare for the ladies to come to the palace, so I have prepared some gifts for all of you. Chuanxi, take out my gifts and give them to all of you. The maidservant standing behind her answered and brought out a tray with a dozen or so finely crafted phoenix hairpins on it. Everyone present revealed a knowing smile. Hearing Empress Dowager Zhou's meaning, she was going to personally choose a concubine for the emperor. Chapter 388. The young girls lined up and walked in front of Empress Dowager Zhou, reporting their names and taking their phoenix hairpins. When each young girl thanked her, they couldn't help sneaking glances at the emperor beside Empress Dowager Zhou. Not bad, not bad. These several dozen young ladies are all from large families. They are dignified and beautiful. This widow is very satisfied with them. What does the emperor think? Empress Dowager Zhou narrowed her eyes as she looked at the beautiful girls below. The more she looked, the more she liked them. Mo Chuan had no expression and his voice was cold. Your son doesn't like a single one. Empress Dowager Zhou said with a smile. Since the emperor doesn't like a single one, then this widow will pick one that this widow likes. She said in a pleasant voice, Which girl is called Ning? Come up and let this widow take a look. Hearing the word Ning, their faces couldn't help changing at the same time. Mo Chuan's eyes sunk, not saying a word. Chu Xiaoyang's expression was dark. His left hand held the back of the chair, and his knuckles turned white. The young girls stood there with their heads down, not a single one coming forward. Empress Dowager Zhou said in a strange voice, Is there not a girl called Ning here? The eldest princess had been drinking with Yi Ting Xian the entire time, and when she heard this, she revealed a drunken smile. She pointed at Chen Ning and said, "Mother, the Ding Yuan princess name is Ning. Your son has always called her Ning. Woo." She didn't even finish before her mouth was covered by Yi Tingxian. "Please forgive me, Empress Dowager. The eldest princess has drunk too much. She is drunk." "Nonsense. This princess is not drunk at all." "Ning, come and testify for this princess. I'm not drunk." The eldest princess pushed away Yi Tingxian's hand and grabbed Chen Ning. Chu Xiaoyang suddenly stood up and placed his hand on the back of the eldest princess' hand. He said in a deep voice, "Royal aunt, you're really drunk. Let husband Yi send you back." Empress Dowager Zhou's face was dark and uncertain. She looked over everyone before falling onto Chen Ning's face. Her eyes were deep, and it was impossible to tell if she was happy or angry. She softly spat out 2 words, "Shao Si." Shao Si was already trembling like a sieve, hiding behind Mo Chuan. He knew he couldn't hide this, so he knelt down in front of Empress Dowager Zhou, not daring to look up. "This servant is here. Tell this widow what is going on." Empress Dowager Zhou looked down and looked at Shao Si. "Empress Dowager, this servant saw wrongly. This servant is talking nonsense. This servant doesn't know anything." Shao Si kowtowed on the ground, speaking incoherently. Mo Chuan really wanted to kick his butt and make this fellow who couldn't do anything scram as far away as possible. Empress Dowager Zhou didn't show any anger and instead gave a he sound. "Emperor, this widow wants to hear what you have to say." Her sharp eyes coldly looked at Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan looked at Empress Dowager Zhou with an indifferent expression and calmly said, "Your son has already said what I should say. Your son does not like a single one of these girls." "Very good. Just now, before I arrived, something big seemed to have happened here. Tell me, what exactly happened?" Empress Dowager Zhou was old and spicier. She had controlled the harem for many years. There was nothing that could escape her eyes and ears. Mo Chuan knew that Empress Dowager Zhou was asking the obvious, so his choice was to refuse to answer. He was also very clear on Empress Dowager Zhou's goal in coming here. What he needed to do now was to protect her from any harm. "Shao Si, if your master doesn't want to say it, will you as a servant not say it? Don't you know what crime it is to disobey the Empress Dowager in this palace?" Chapter 389. Shao Si's body violently trembled. The Empress Dowager's words were filled with killing intent. If he didn't say it, even if the Emperor trusted him, he wouldn't be able to keep his head. Reporting to the Empress Dowager, this servant really didn't see or hear anything. Shao Si braced himself. He would rather lose his head than betray his master. "All right, Shao Si, stand up. For your master to have such a loyal servant like you. This widow is happy for the Emperor." Empress Dowager Zhou's words changed, and Shao Si almost did not dare believe his ears. "This widow has been sick recently and missed such a joyous event. It is truly shameful. King Ding Yuan, I heard that not only did you marry a princess, you also took in a concubine. You must have brought them into the palace, so bring them over for this widow to see. This widow still has a reward for them." Empress Dowager Zhou said with a gentle expression. Ever since the eldest princess said Chen Ning's name, Chu Xiaoyang's face had turned as dark as water. Hearing this, it became even darker. He did not say a word as he pulled Chen Ning in front of Empress Dowager Zhou and bowed down. "Greetings, Empress Dowager. This is the Princess Chen. The concubine Chen Baiyun has made a mistake, and the Emperor has already imprisoned her in the cold palace. Oh, Chen, come forward and let this widow take a good look." Empress Dowager Zhou did not ask what Chen Baiyun had done. It was clear she already knew. It was just King Ding Yuan and his princess leaving. It was not a big matter for her to worry about at all. But Empress Dowager Zhou never would have thought that this Ding Yuan princess would have a relationship with her son. This was something she could not allow. Chen Ning took 2 steps forward and slightly raised her head. She lowered her brows, letting Empress Dowager Zhou see her face. She did not need to look up to know that there was no good coming. You really are a peerless beauty, even prettier than a painting. King Ding Yuan is truly blessed. Empress Dowager Zhou smiled as she praised. She took out a crystal-clear jade bracelet and personally placed it on Chen Ning's hand. Many thanks for the Empress Dowager's reward. Chen Ning lowered her eyes in thanks. After sitting for this long, this widow is also tired, but to be able to see a girl prettier than the flowers in the royal garden, this widow's trip was not in vain. Emperor, are you willing to send this widow back to the palace? Empress Dowager Zhou slowly stood up. Everyone was stunned. The Empress Dowager was leaving just like this? They were all prepared for a storm, but they never thought that it would be calm. Empress Chun, Empress Chuan. Empress Dowager Chun was to King Dowager Zhou. Empress Dowager Zhou patted the back of his hand and nodded. She turned to Chu Xiaoyang with a smile and said, King Ding Yuan, you've married such a beautiful girl as your princess, so you have to properly cherish her. With such a beautiful girl, you should bring her back to your palace as soon as possible. It wouldn't be good if she was targeted by others. Their faces. Ning's. Chen Ning thought in her heart that old Ginger really was spicy. Empress Dowager Zhou's expression did not change, but she already knew everything. With a single sentence, she pushed herself back to Chu Xiaoyang's side. With he, to he, he. Chun, mother. He to say he, to. Dowager EMT. Mother. Mo Chuan's brows knit as he was interrupted by Empress Dowager Zhou. Emperor, a husband and wife quarreling isn't a big matter. As King Ding Yuan's elder, you should be happy for King Ding Yuan and his wife's love. The Ding Yuan princess wanting to go back to her maternal family was just something she said out of anger. How could you be so muddled? Listen to this widow and let this husband and wife return to the palace. In less than 3 days, they will be very loving. King Ding Yuan, don't you agree? Chapter 390. Empress Dowager, please be assured. This minister will treat the princess well and will not let her suffer any grievances. Chu Xiaoyang immediately replied, That's right. With King Ding Yuan's words, what is there for the emperor to be worried about? Come, send this widow back to the palace. Empress Dowager Zhou's thin fingers tightly gripped Mo Chuan's wrist, but Mo Chuan did not move. Mother, Emperor, you won't even listen to this widow's words? Empress Dowager Zhou's face instantly sunk. All right, since you insist, this widow will immediately give the order. All right, your son will send mother back to the palace now. Mo Chuan took a breath and supported Empress Dowager Zhou as they slowly walked to the door. Before leaving, he took a deep look at Chen Ning. This look did not escape Chu Xiaoyang's eyes. He had a smile on his face, but his eyes were ice cold. Farewell, Empress Dowager. Everyone in the hall bowed down and sent Empress Dowager Zhou off. The young girls were all stunned, unable to hide the disappointment and frustration on their faces. After Empress Dowager Zhou came to the hall, she spoke in riddles. Other than a few people who understood, the others were all confused. Since the Empress Dowager and the Emperor had left, the people in the hall all returned to their mansions. This spring flower viewing banquet ended so hastily, which was beyond everyone's expectations. Ninger, let's go back. Chu Xiaoyang pulled Chen Ning's hand, but she threw it away. His brows revealed a look of anger, but it quickly disappeared. With a gentle smile, he said, All right, this king promised not to touch you. This king will not go back on his word. Chen Ning entered the carriage outside the palace and couldn't help giving a faint sigh. With her little arm, how could she resist Empress Dowager Zhou's thigh? If she wanted to get rid of Chu Xiaoyang now, she would have to find another way. What are you coming in for? She was leaning against the window, thinking when she suddenly saw the curtain open. Chu Xiaoyang slowly walked in from outside, and she couldn't help frowning. Although in the hall, Chu Xiaoyang's performance was commendable and his passionate appearance had touched everyone, it did not include her. As a micro-expression expert, Chu Xiaoyang's subtle expressions that no one would notice did not escape her eyes. Even if he did not lie, That did not mean every word he said was true. This king just wanted to come in and talk to you. Chu Xiaoyang did not make a move and just sat in front of her, staring at her without blinking at all. His voice was gentle, and his eyes were even more gentle. Chen Ning leaned back against the wall of the carriage and indifferently closed her eyes. There are only the two of us here. You don't have to act anymore. You're not tired of acting, but I am. Her tone was even more indifferent than her expression. The tenderness on his face froze in an instant. His heart ached fiercely, as if he had been stabbed with a knife. Very good, she had this kind of ability. With just a few words, she was able to raise his anger to the peak. "Do you think I'm acting?" he asked in a low voice. A storm was brewing. "Aren't you?" She scoffed, still not opening her eyes. She came from the modern era, so what kind of acting skills hadn't she seen before? Chu Xiaoyang's acting was very good and strong, but things always went the other way. Being too exaggerated made it seem fake. What he said was true, but his acting was too fake. Every word this king says is true. My feelings for you are also true. Do you want this king to take out my heart for you to see? Her indifference and disdain angered him again. He leaned forward and pinched her chin, his fingers unknowingly exerting more force. Chapter 391. Ninger, this king wants to treat you well, so it's best if you don't challenge this king's bottom line. He tightly pursed his lips. Chen Ning was already too lazy to look at him and looked out the window. He grabbed her chin again and forced her to look up at him. This king is clearly telling you, you are my Chu Xiaoyang's woman and will be for your entire life. 8 years ago, you and I formed an inseparable bond. In your eyes, other than me, there will never be a second man. She raised the corner of her lips mockingly and glanced at him coldly. Chu Xiaoyang, I thought you had changed into a different person, but I never thought that you would reveal your true face this quickly. It's better for you to be like this. The you wearing that mask makes me feel disgusted with a single glance. Chu Xiaoyang revealed a smile instead of being angry. He forcefully grabbed her chin, and the anger in his eyes became even stronger. You feel disgusted seeing this king, but who doesn't feel disgusted seeing? The emperor? Do you think that the emperor is better looking than me? That you fall in love with him at first sight? His anger caused his fingers to slide down to her slender neck, pressing her against the hard, cold wall of the car. Speak. What did you do when you met in the royal study? He enunciated each word, and his eyes were filled with a terrifying cold light. He thought of the dress she had changed for no reason, the veil she had taken off, and the way the emperor looked at her. His heart was being bitten by a poisonous snake of jealousy. Chen Ning couldn't breathe, and her face turned red. Her eyes unyieldingly stared at him, and her lips moved a few times, but she couldn't make sound. What do you want to say? Chu Xiaoyang's fingers slightly loosened, and a trace of hope flashed in his eyes, but it was instantly extinguished by his anger. He used even more strength to grip her neck. He couldn't let her speak because he was afraid of hearing a truth that he didn't dare accept. If you dare to do anything to let this king down, this king will definitely not forgive you. This king will eat you up one bite at a time, because you are mine, mine, mine. He angrily roared as his fingers used even more strength. Chen Ning's eyes were filled with stars as she desperately struggled, but his large hand was tightly gripping her neck, not moving at all. Finally, her body went soft and she fainted. Ninger! The moment she fainted, Chu Xiaoyang suddenly released his hand and caught her falling body. When he saw the red marks on her neck, he was filled with pain and regret. He must have gone crazy just now. He almost strangled her to death. Ninger! This king didn't mean to hurt you. It really wasn't on purpose. This king was angered by you. This king lost all reason. His heart ached as he caressed the strangulation marks on her neck. That soft and smooth touch made his heart throb. He lowered his eyes and stared at her. She didn't move at all, quietly lying in his arms. Her pale face was strangely beautiful, making his heart beat faster. He knew that she was not dead. She had just fainted. If he dawned, he had her, that you, King, Ning Ting Ning He? Ning, Ning Chun, Ning, Ning S.U. Ning. He caressed her face and slowly approached her. Do you know how long this king has been thinking about you? I've been waiting for this moment. 8 years. This king has been thinking about you for an entire 8 years. His hot breath hit her face. His lips gently touched her face, as if he was tasting delicious food, one small bite at a time. Chapter 392. The carriage suddenly shook. Chu Xiaoyang was caught off guard and was thrown off. Bastard, damn! You can't even drive a carriage properly. What use is there for this king to keep you? He had just held a warm and fragrant body, and his mind was completely intoxicated, but he was suddenly interrupted. His mood was very bad, and he couldn't help cursing out loud. The carriage driver shrunk back from his cursing, not making a single sound. Coo, 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 coo. Chen Ning was awakened. She rubbed her aching neck and forcefully coughed. With the crisp sound of clothes tearing, she felt her left arm go cold. Her sleeve had been torn by Chu Xiaoyang, revealing half of her snow-white as jade arm. Very good, you're still clean. He stared at the blood-red chastity mark and revealed a satisfied smile. Chu Xiaoyang, you're shameless. Chen Ning instantly understood what he meant. Her face turned completely red, almost dripping blood. Shameless? This king will let you see what true shamelessness is. He smiled evilly and pounced over like an agile cheetah, pushing her down onto the floor of the carriage. The horse pulling the carriage suddenly let out a whinny, and the carriage swayed back and forth. The carriage driver was so scared that he almost dropped his whip. He did not dare breathe and did not dare look back. His heart was wondering what His Highness was doing. After all, they were on a crowded street. Chu Xiaoyang, you're crazy. Chen Ning angrily stared at him. His heavy body was tightly pressed against her, making it hard for her to breathe again. She did not struggle. In this situation, the more she struggled, the more it would irritate him. She could already see the wild beast-like glow in his eyes. That's right, this king is indeed crazy. I've gone crazy for you. He gave a fiendish, gritted smile and heavily gasped for breath. It was like his entire body was on fire. The moving carriage and the noisy crowd, as well as her soft body beneath him, made him feel a strange excitement. He could not control himself anymore. Bastard! Chen Ning raised her hand and forcefully sent a palm at him. He easily grabbed her wrist, and together with her other hand, he held it firmly above her head, not allowing her to move at all. You better shout loudly and use all your strength. This king does not mind pulling down the curtains and letting the citizens of the city see how much this king loves his princess. Chu Xiaoyang, you're not a man. Her body trembled with anger at his shamelessness. Whether this king is a man or not, you'll soon know. He impatiently untied the knot on her dress. His 5 fingers turned into claws, and with a chi-la sound, he tore her clothes in half. Chen Ning's heart almost jumped out of her chest. Stop him. She had to think of a way to stop him. He touched her pants and tore it open. His calloused fingers slowly slid up her smooth calf. Ninger, you might feel a lot of pain, but only pain can make you remember that this king is your first man and also your last man. Chu Xiaochun. Chu Xiaoyang, stop. She's dead. The Chen Ning that saved you 8 years ago. She's already dead. She finally forcefully shouted out. Oh. He paused for a moment, then smiled. Chindai. Then who am I hugging? Is it a ghost? His thin lips came close to her, and he revealed an evil and careless smile. Even if you're a ghost, this king doesn't care. This king likes you as a ghost, my little female ghost. Chapter 393. Chen Ning suddenly gave a gentle laugh. Her laugh was soft and charming, making his heart skip a beat. When he looked up, he saw her lying down on top of him. Her charming smile was enough to captivate his soul. Even if it's a ghost, you still like it? All right, then take out your heart for me to see. If it's true, then I'll believe you. Isn't it easy to see this king's heart? This king will show you now. He raised his upper body and tore off his deep purple robe, revealing his strong and muscular chest. But this king also wants to see your heart. Other than this king, there is no other man inside. He revealed an evil smile and loosened his grip on her. His two large palms grabbed the last barrier in front of her chest, preparing to tear it apart. Chen Ning suddenly pulled out the hairpin in her hair, and her cloud-like hair fell down. The hairpin was pressed against her throat, and a drop of blood came out, slowly sliding down her snow-white neck. Chu Xiaoyang, I'm not afraid of death. Are you afraid? Don't you love me a lot? If I die, will you die with me? She raised her face and revealed a flower-like smile as she slowly said this. Chu Xiaoyang was stunned, and all the muscles in his body turned stiff. Chen Ning, don't force me. He spat out these words through gritted teeth. I'm only giving you a chance to show your love for me. What? You can't act anymore. Or you're not willing to act anymore. I'm telling you, even if Chen Ning, become a ghost, I'm not willing to be your woman. Don't you like ghosts? Then I'll become a ghost and see how you love me. Chen Ning's eyes turned cold as she stabbed the hairpin into her flesh, forcefully stabbing it in. Emo Chuan held Empress Dowager Zhou's hand and walked step by step into her palace. You can all leave. Empress Dowager Zhou sent everyone away. There was only her and Emo Chuan left in the large palace. She slightly raised her chin and her eyes turned cold. She coldly spat out 2 words, kneel down. Emo Chuan's back was straight and his face was calm. Your son did not do anything wrong. Why do I need to kneel? You didn't do anything wrong? Emperor, do you think this widow is deaf, blind, or an idiot? You and that Miss Chun, just what is going on? Tell this widow the truth. Empress Dowager Zhou shook off Emo Chuan's hand and picked up a dragon head cane, heavily hitting Emo Chuan's knee. Kneel down for this widow. Emo Chuan took a deep breath and grabbed Empress Dowager Zhou's cane. Mother, your son, and her are not like what mother thinks. Empress Dowager Zhou gave a cold laugh. Oh, her? Who is she? Who is she? Miss Chun? She slammed her walking stick on the ground and continued to sneer. I know that you have fallen in love with that girl. She is indeed very beautiful, but she is not the only beautiful girl in the world. Which one of the noble young ladies today isn't elegant and dignified? Even if one of them isn't as beautiful as Lady Chun, but with 10 of them added together, they should be more beautiful than one Lady Chun, right? Emo of Chun. Empress Dowager Zhou was filled with anger. Emperor, you have to understand your own status. Not only are you the ruler of a country, in terms of seniority, that Miss Chun should call you uncle. Her husband is your blood-related nephew. Do you want to do something unethical and disdainful? Do you want to be a beast that is despised by all? Do you want to throw away the face of your ancestors? Mother, your words are too serious. Your son has his own sense of propriety and has not done anything unspeakable like mother says. Your son has feelings for her, but it is only courtesy. Chapter 394. Emperor, you actually have the face. Empress Dowager Zhou's body trembled with anger. She pointed at Emo Chuan and scolded. She is your junior and your nephew's princess. You actually have the face to say that you only have feelings for her, that you only have etiquette. You should be avoiding her like a snake, not even touching her. Don't even think about it. How did this widow give birth to such a stupid thing like you? Today this widow will beat a beast like you who doesn't know human relations to death. Otherwise, this widow will have no face to see my ancestors after I die. She raised her dragon head cane and slammed it down at Emo Chuan's back. Emo Chuan's back turned stiff, but he became even straighter, allowing Empress Dowager Zhou's cane to hit him again and again. Mother, your son didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. So isn't this widow in the wrong? Empress Dowager Zhou leaned on her cane while panting. You refused to have an empress and didn't even want to marry a concubine. So this widow let you be. Who would have thought that you would like your nephew's princess? You still have the nerve to say that you didn't do anything wrong. Mother, do you really believe that King Ding Yuan is sincere towards her and won't harm her? It doesn't matter if this widow believes it or not. The important thing is that she is King Ding Yuan's princess. It doesn't matter if King Ding Yuan is good to her or not. It is her life. There is no need for an emperor like you to have tender feelings for the fairer sex and stand up for her. Empress Dowager Zhou sternly reprimanded. If you want to have tender feelings for the fairer sex, you can pick any girl in the world and choose anyone you want. So why do you have to be moved by someone else's woman? If she really was married, as long as you like her, this widow wouldn't stop you. But she is King Ding Yuan's princess. You can touch any woman in the world, but she is the only one you can't touch. Saying this, Empress Dowager Zhou's tone suddenly changed. Emperor, you wouldn't have forgotten how you obtained the throne, right? Mo Chuan's body heavily trembled. He slowly clenched his fists and looked at Empress Dowager Zhou. Your son hasn't forgotten. How could your son forget? Your son clearly remembers, but your son will not let her suffer in King Ding Yuan's hands for a trivial emperor's position. So, please forgive your son for being unfilial. If mother feels that your son is not worthy of being the emperor, your son is willing to abdicate. After he said this word for word, he gave a deep bow to Empress Dowager Zhou. He turned around and walked out the door, his back still straight. Emperor, Empress Dowager Zhou shouted from behind him. Mo Chuan's footsteps slightly paused before he left without any hesitation. If he didn't save her now, it would be too late. Asterisk, stop. Stop. I won't touch you. I promise you, I won't touch you. Chu Xiaoyang shouted out. He was shocked by the determination on her face and the blood on her neck, finally losing this battle. He stared at her in disbelief. She would rather die than become his woman? Why? Get out. She gritted her teeth and looked at him as if he was a fly. Chu Xiaoyang gritted his teeth. No matter how unwilling he was, he did not dare provoke her. Seeing her cold and disgusted eyes, he suddenly felt very regretful. He regretted it so much that he wanted to slap himself. Did he go crazy just now? He actually wanted to force himself on her? Didn't he promise to treat her well? Because he had done too many wrong things to her in the past. All he wanted now was for her to slowly forget his bad side and only remember his good side. In the end, he did even worse. Chapter 395. Ning, this king will keep his word and will not touch a single finger of yours. This king's heart for you will always be the same. This king will slowly prove it to you. He said this as he backed out of the carriage. Scum! Chen Ning spat out. She put away the phoenix hairpin and suddenly pricked up her ears. She heard the sound of horse hooves in the distance, like they were heading straight for her carriage. Chu Xiaoyang looked up and couldn't help being a little surprised. This group of people were wearing bright armor. It was actually a group of royal guards. They appeared in front of them like a whirlwind, surrounding the carriage. This general has received the Empress Dowager's orders to summon the Ding Yuan princess into the palace. The leading royal guard commander cupped his hands to Chu Xiaoyang from the back of his horse and spoke with an expressionless face. Why is the Empress Dowager summoning this king's princess into the palace? Chu Xiaoyang knit his brows and was filled with doubt. This general does not know. This general is only following orders. The royal guard commander replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner as he waved his hand. A black-clothed and black-armored royal guard jumped onto the carriage and took the whip from the horse driver's hand. He kicked the horse driver off the carriage and whipped the horse, quickly driving the carriage in the direction of the palace. Chu Xiaoyang was stunned as he watched the group of royal guards surround the carriage. It became smaller and smaller, quickly disappearing from his line of sight. After a while, he finally reacted. He angrily jumped onto the back of his horse and chased after the carriage. Damn, the Empress Dowager couldn't have gone senile and wanted to help the emperor's son steal his woman, right? He and his horse were stopped outside the palace gates. Why can't you let this king enter the palace? This king is King Ding Yuan. This king has the royal palace entry token. He angrily said, Please calm your highness. This subordinate is only doing his duty. Please show your highness the token, and after this subordinate has checked it, naturally your highness will be allowed to enter the palace. The guard at the gate said with a smile. Chu Xiaoyang's lungs almost exploded from anger when he heard this, and he almost cursed out loud. Why would he need a token to enter the palace? His face was the token. In the past, as long as all the guards saw him, they would bow and greet him from afar and open the palace gates. Today, he actually said such nonsensical words. All right, this king will show you the token. Open your dog eyes and look carefully. He reached out to touch the token, but who would have thought that he would touch nothing? Today, he was invited to attend the banquet in the palace. How could he superfluously wear a waist token? If your highness didn't bring your waist token, I have to do business. Please forgive me, your highness. The guard smiled, but his palm was pressed on the waist knife. All right, this king will go back to the palace to get the token. Just wait for this king. Chu's face turned livid as he angrily charged out. When he returned with the waist token, he still couldn't enter the inner city of the palace. The reason this time was the time has come. The time, the token, the time. The emperor, person. King, the king, ding king. The empress dowager wouldn't keep this king's princess in the palace overnight, right? This subordinate doesn't know. Since the princess has been summoned by the empress dowager, if the empress dowager can keep the princess for a night, it means that the empress dowager is very fond of the princess. This is a good thing that others can only envy. Your highness does not need to worry. This subordinate should congratulate your highness. The guard said with a smile. Congratulate your mother. Chapter 396. All right, then this king will wait here. When the palace gates open, this king will go in to pay his respects to the Empress Dowager. He angrily sat down on the steps, not caring about his highness image at all. The guard helplessly said, according to the rules of the palace, no one can stay at the palace gates without an order. If your highness wants to pay his respects to the Empress Dowager, how about you wait somewhere else? Chu Xiaoyang suddenly thought of a place and said with a cold laugh, all right, since I can't enter the inner city, then this king can stay in the outer city, right? Of course, your highness, please go ahead. Chu Xiaoyang took a large step forward and headed in a certain direction. Chen Baiyun, it's all because of you, cheap servant, that this king has missed his most beloved woman. Now, what you owe this king will take it back from you bit by bit. The cold palace was built in a remote corner of the outer city of the royal palace. Almost no one came close during the day, and when night fell, it felt even more sinister. Chen Baiyun was locked up in a separate palace room with 2 maids serving her. They were serving her, but they were actually monitoring her because the emperor had ordered that she could not die no matter what, including the child in her stomach. The doctor had just taken her pulse and left. A maid was sitting in the corner brewing medicine, and another maid was standing in front of the bed feeding her. Chen Baiyun could not eat at all. Her eyes were completely red, and her tears had already dried up. After eating a few mouthfuls, she shook her head and stopped eating. Concubine, Shun, it's best if you finish this bowl of rice. Otherwise, this servant will feel awkward. The maid coldly said. Chen Baiyun was instantly enraged. She raised her hand and knocked over the bowl of rice. She angrily said, you cheap servant, you actually dare to use this kind of tone to speak to this concubine? The maid curled her lips and said in a disdainful voice, it sounds nice to call you a concubine, but you're just a concubine. What kind of stinky concubine are you putting on? Do you think this is the King Ding Yuan Palace? Or do you think you're the princess consort? You, this concubine will slap your cheap mouth. Chen Baiyun was so angry that her eyes turned white. She grabbed a pillow and threw it at her. The maid dodged and grabbed Chen Baiyun's wrist. She impolitely said, concubine, Shun, if you don't eat properly, this servant will tie you up and feed you. Don't blame this servant for reminding you first. Chen Baiyun's eyes popped out. Seeing the fierce face of the maid, she instantly shrank into the bed in fear. She didn't expect that the saying a tiger that fell to the plains would be bullied by dogs would actually fall on her head one day. The maid took an empty bowl and picked up all the rice that had fallen to the ground. Using a spoon to scoop it up, she brought it to Chun Bai-yun's mouth. "This food is dirty. I won't eat it." Chun Bai-yun was stunned. After being stunned for a while, she angrily turned her head. "It's just a bit of dirt. It's not like it's poisoned. If concubine consort Shen doesn't eat it, then this servant can only use force," the palace maid coldly said. Chun Bai-yun's face turned red and her chest filled with anger. She wanted to curse out, but thinking that this was the cold palace and not her territory, what qualifications did she have to act so arrogantly here? "Elder sister, can I trouble you to bring another bowl of rice?" I really can't eat this bowl of rice." She softened her voice. A wise man knows when to fight. She would endure it for now. Once she gave birth to a child and tested it with a blood test, humph, the humiliation she had suffered today, she wanted to make them pay 10 times over. "There's no more. You have to eat even if you can't." Chapter 397. Chun Bai-yun could only endure it again, but after chewing a few times, her teeth began to hurt, and she almost lost her teeth. "Pooh!" She opened her mouth and spat it out. She angrily scolded, "There is sand in this rice. How could it be eaten by a human?" Since concubine Chun doesn't know how to appreciate kindness, then this servant won't be polite. The maid put down the bowl and took out a long and thick rope, walking over to Chun Bai-yun. "Cheap servant, you dare." Chun Bai-yun put on a strong front. Concubine Chun isn't eating properly. This servant has no other choice," the maid said with an expressionless face. I'll eat." Chun Bai-yun did not dare to be stubborn. She grabbed a handful of rice and desperately shoved it into her mouth. She was filled with anger and hatred as she began to cry again. Suddenly, the door to the room was suddenly pushed open with a dong-dang sound. "Who is it?" The maid turned around in surprise and saw Chu Xiaoyang standing at the door. His handsome face had no expression and his deep eyes were staring at Chun Bai-yun on the bed. "Greetings, King Ding Yuan." The two maids quickly bowed down. "Your Highness." When Chun Bai-yun saw Chu Xiaoyang, she was filled with joy and tears began to fall from her eyes. She did not bother to put on her shoes as she jumped off the bed and threw herself into Chu Xiaoyang's embrace. His Highness still loved her. He still came to see her after she was sent to the cold palace. If it wasn't love, then what was it? "You finally come to see Yun-er. I thought that your Highness was really heartless and didn't want Yun anymore." She sobbed and cried. Feeling that Chu Xiaoyang did not push her away, her sobs became even louder and she became even more confident. "How could this king be willing to not want you? Didn't this king come to see you?" Chu Xiaoyang's voice was as gentle as ever, but his face was cold and expressionless. Chun Bai-yun could not see it. She felt an overwhelming sense of happiness. She suddenly pointed at one of the maids and fiercely shouted, "Your Highness, this cheap servant is bullying Yun-er. You have to help Yun-er vent her anger and punish her." "Oh, how did she bully Yun-er? Tell this king and let this king decide for you," Chu Xiaoyang said in a gentle voice. The palace maid didn't dare to raise her head, her body trembling violently. She spoke rudely and mocked Yun-er. She gave dirty rice to Yun-er and even used a rope to tie Yun-er up. "Your Highness, help Yun-er, teach her a lesson," Chun Bai-yun proudly said. "Very good." Chu Xiaoyang casually took off a jade pendant and threw it at the palace maid. "You've done very well. This is your reward. Continue doing this in the future. Now, all of you go out. This king has something to say to this slut." "Thank you, your Highness." The maid was pleasantly surprised. She gripped the jade pendant tightly and left with the other maid, closing the door behind them. "Your Highness, you... Chun Bai-yun could not believe her ears. Her eyes opened wide as she looked up at this handsome but cold man without a trace of warmth. "Slut, are you comfortable living in the cold palace?" Chu Xiaoyang slightly narrowed his eyes. Chun Bai-yun suddenly felt a chill run down her spine, and she couldn't help taking a step back. Too scary. This man is really scary. He He wouldn't be here to take her life, right? Eh, you're only afraid now? When you lied to this king, did you never think that this day would come? Chu Xiaoyang stood in the same spot and calmly looked at her, enjoying the fear on her face. The more scared she was, the more satisfied he felt. Chapter 398. What do you want to do? Chen Baiyun's teeth chattered and her body trembled as she desperately shrank into the corner. This king missed you, so I came to see you. Chu Xiaoyang casually said as he slowly walked over to her. You don't come over. Chen Baiyun closed her eyes in fear as she loudly shouted. What are you afraid of? This king won't take your life. This king just wants to apply medicine for you. Chu Xiaoyang revealed a soft smile as he took off the veil on her face. Looking at her face covered in pimples and pus, he gave a regretful TSK sound. Such a beautiful face. It's a pity that it has become like this. This king feels sad for you. Do you want to see your current appearance? No, I don't want to see. Chen Baiyun trembled as she tightly closed her eyes. You have to see even if you don't want to. Chu Xiaoyang grabbed her hair and dragged her to the dressing table. He threw her in front of the bronze mirror and gave a cold laugh. Chen Baiyun couldn't help opening her eyes. There was no woman in this world that didn't like looking in the mirror, not to mention how beautiful she was in the past. She suddenly let out a terrifying cry. Who is this ugly monster? Who is it? It's not me. It's not me. She wildly shouted as she grabbed the bronze mirror and threw it. Although the bronze mirror was gone, the ugly, angry, pustular face that made her feel nauseous was still swaying in front of her eyes. She covered her face with her hands and tightly closed her eyes, but that face still appeared in front of her eyes. How about it? Are you satisfied? This king worked hard to apply medicine for you every day. Shouldn't you thank this king? Chu Xiaoyang gave a gentle smile as he spoke in a gentle voice. But in Chen Baiyun's ears, it was even more terrifying than the voice of a demon from hell. She trembled as she thought of the scene of him gently applying medicine for her. At that time, she was so moved that she could die for him. Your Highness, why did you harm Yin-Er? Why did you make Yin-Er's face like this? Was it because of that cheap woman, Chun Ning? No, she's not a cheap woman. I'm the cheap woman. I've wronged you, I've lied to you. Your Highness, I beg you. Can you cure Yin-Er's face? As long as you cure Yin-Er's face, no matter what you want, Yin-Er will do as you please. Chen Baiyun suddenly knelt down and crawled at Chu Xiaoyang's feet, crying and begging. She was extremely afraid of the man in front of her. Only now did she realize that the person she had fallen in love with was actually a devil. He had destroyed her face without batting an eyelid. If he wanted to destroy her, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. Very good. Yin-Er, you've finally become obedient. Then tell me honestly, which man's vile spawn does the child in your stomach belong to? Chu Xiaoyang looked down from above, coldly looking down at Chen Baiyun. Chen Baiyun's body trembled, and she couldn't help looking up. Your Highness, Yin-Er is not lying. The child in Yin-Er's stomach is indeed your Highness. Chun, you still dare to be so stubborn when you're about to die. Chu Xiaoyang was filled with anger. He raised his hand to slap her, but when he saw her disgusting face, he slowly put his hand down. Your Highness, Yin-Er dares to swear to the heavens that other than your Highness, Yin-Er has never been with a second man. Chen Baiyun tightly gritted her teeth. You. Chapter 399. Very good. Since you haven't thought it through yet, this king will give you time to think about it. When you want to say it, just tell this king. But remember, this king does not have much patience. I'm afraid I won't be able to wait for long. With a cold voice, he raised his foot to leave. Your Highness! Chen Baiyun jumped forward and hugged one of his feet. She said while crying, Yin-Er's stomach really is your flesh and blood. Chu Xiaoyang lowered his head and patiently said, Are you really not going to tell the truth? This king might as well tell you that the medicine on your face will quickly rot into your skin. The pus will become bigger and bigger, and eventually, holes will appear on your face. When that happens, you will become a skeleton beauty. Haha. Can you imagine a living person with a face that looks like a dead person's skeleton? You will become that kind of monster at that time. If you don't want to become like that, then tell this king the truth. This king will use medicine to cure your face and let you recover your original beauty. Chen Baiyun's body kept trembling and her eyes were filled with fear. She did not even dare look up at Chu Xiaoyang's eyes. This man was simply more terrifying than a demon. Your Highness, Her lips trembled and a scene suddenly appeared in her mind. She shouted out, "Go ask the nanny. She will definitely know." That day, it was drunk and only remembered you carrying me to bed. As for what happened after, really doesn't remember. I don't remember. She desperately shook her head as tears wildly fell down. Chu Xiaoyang's heart skipped a beat. That's right, the nanny, Miss Chun. How could he forget such an important person? He pulled his foot out of Chun Baiyun's hand and turned to leave. Your Highness, please give the antidote. Give the antidote. Chun Baiyun's cries came from behind him, but he turned a deaf ear as he walked faster and faster. Chu Xiaoyang's heart was burning with anxiety. He rushed back to the palace and sent people to capture Miss Chun, but he never thought that he would receive news that Miss Chun had disappeared. He immediately gathered all the secret guards and loudly ordered, "All of you go look for her. You must find this Miss Chun. Even if you turn the capital upside down, you must capture Miss Chun for this king." Chen Ning sat in the carriage. Under the escort of the imperial guards, she entered the royal palace without any obstructions. She never thought that the one summoning her would be Empress Dowager Zhou. Whether it was good or bad, it was hard to predict. Although she had only seen Empress Dowager Zhou once, she knew that this seemingly friendly Empress Dowager Zhou was a very powerful person. Originally, to be able to endure the ups and downs of the imperial palace for decades to reach the position of Empress Dowager, it was absolutely impossible without sufficient scheming and means. Empress Dowager Zhou must have been a very beautiful woman when she was young. Although she was already over 50 years old, one could still see the beautiful outline of her past. Only that white hair and the deep wrinkles around her eyes clearly told everyone what kind of trials and tribulations she had gone through in these years, and how her heart was tortured. She think about it. Chun think about it. She to Chun. She. King. A gentle and refined young girl's voice came from outside the carriage. Chun Ning opened the side curtain of the carriage and looked outside. She saw that the carriage had stopped in front of the palace. Night had fallen, and there was a row of red lanterns hanging in front of the palace. There was an 19-year-old maid standing in front of the door. She was prepared to get off the carriage when she suddenly knit her brows and stopped. Chapter 400. The curtain was suddenly lifted, and the Imperial Guard driver entered the carriage. He had a tall stature, and his back was facing the light, so she couldn't see his face. She could only feel a pair of bright eyes falling onto her body. "Bold! Quickly get out!" Chen Ning crossed her arms and coldly shouted. The Imperial Guard's eyes suddenly darkened. Not only did he not leave, he walked over to her with large steps, taking off his clothes as he walked. She felt as if her scalp was going to explode. Were the Imperial Guards crazy? She retreated to the corner and could no longer avoid it. "You really are bold. This is the royal palace. You dare do this to me." "Whoa." The Imperial Guard suddenly moved forward and covered her mouth. "Ninger, don't be afraid, it's me." That familiar, mellow voice was like the babbling of water. Chen Ning felt like her acupuncture point had been poked, not moving at all. "Mo Chuan, is it really you?" Her eyes suddenly turned hot. In that moment of despair, she had indeed called out to him in her heart and hoped for him. Then he really appeared. "It's me." Mo Chuan looked at her in this sorry state, and his heart filled with pain. He took off his Imperial Guard's coat and wrapped her up tightly. Carrying her in his arms, he jumped off the carriage and carried her in large strides. "Bold Imperial Guard, this is the Emperor's palace, and you dare charge in?" The palace maid came forward to stop him, but when she saw Mo Chuan's face, she quickly kneeled down. Please forgive me, Emperor. Go prepare hot water and new clothes. Quickly. Mo Chuan looked straight ahead as he carried her into the room and carefully placed her on the bed. Chen Ning held on to him, not willing to let go. Mo Chuan, don't go. His embrace was warm and safe. With him by her side, even if the sky fell down, she wouldn't be afraid. I won't go. I will always be by your side and protect you. I won't let you be hurt again. He held on her waist and tightly held her in his embrace. He could feel her body trembling in his embrace and his heart filled with pain again. What had happened to her? What did that bastard do to her? In fact, looking at her almost torn clothes, he could guess what had happened. Damn, that bastard dared to force himself on her. Mo Chuan's teeth began to creak as a murderous rage filled his heart. His eyes narrowed as he stared at the wound on her throat that had been pierced by the golden hairpin. There was a shocking blood stain on it. There was also a clear finger mark on her neck that had a high swollen mark. This one will kill him. His heart filled with pain. Here, does it hurt? It doesn't hurt anymore. I stabbed myself. I know what I'm doing. Chen Ning shook her head. She was not willing to think about that terrifying scene, but when she thought of the crazy Chu Xiaoyang, her body couldn't help trembling. He felt her tremble and his arms tightened around her. In Mo Chuan's embrace, she wasn't afraid. She really wasn't afraid. Raising her eyelashes, she looked around the room and asked curiously, "What is this place? Isn't the Empress Dowager summoning me?" It wasn't the Empress Dowager, it was Zhen. Zhen faked the Empress Dowager's decree. He stared at her. If it wasn't like this, how could he easily let you enter the palace? She bit her lips. She wanted to laugh, but she forced it. You're not afraid of the Empress Dowager finding out and blaming you? This one isn't afraid. This one was afraid that the edict would be late and that bastard would harm you. I never thought that you would still be injured. Mo Chuan's face was calm, but his eyes were already filled with waves. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.